disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
We just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You're happy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're happy because you got nothing. Got nothing.
I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
Well, welcome everybody to another Boxing podcast. Broadcasting to you live from the True North. This is your good friend Mr. BDA, and I sure am glad that everybody could be on board for this one, fellas. In this episode, we got a fantastic one for you. We start looking ahead at the future. What's next? After all the drama between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence has died down, we start talking about the future. We're all about the future here over at BDA Boxing, so that's what we're going to be focused on. Before we get down to the fun, however, let's get the business out of the way. We will be opening up the phone lines in about an hour or so, depending on how everything goes. But before we get down to the fun, let's not get the business twisted out here. If you want to donate via the super chat, you're certainly welcome to do so. You can donate a couple of shekels our way. The most important thing is you can do it to like, subscribe, all right, fellas? You can also join the membership program. That way you get more bang for your buck. But the most important thing is you continue to like, subscribe, spread that BDA gospel, all right? What else was I going to say here? Oh, yeah, don't forget you can check us out on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, at your leisure. Okay, fellas? That's really very, very good if you want to listen on the go after the show has aired. Let's give a few shout-outs here to some of the loyal listeners here. Shout out to Earl Stevens. Shout out to Trooper5131. Shout out to SSC in the house. Shout out to SSC. Fluffy Toasters 89. Omar E. Alfredo Contreras. Errol Stevens, Elavo, MTPHSC, Uriah Smith, Mars, Knockout Ned, Fluffy Toast, well, I said him as well, Dark Hat Doe, Shadow Combat in the house, Some Rando, Boxing Expert, Joe said it's true. I mean, more people to come, I'm sure, fellas. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right, well, listen. The Crawford-Spence saga has died down. A little underwhelming, perhaps, compared to all the talk about it being the fight of the century. But nevertheless, it was a good week of fun. I mean, that 2 weeks earlier, okay, wasn't that much. Mostly on Twitter. That's where people were going nuts. But then the week of the fight, that's where things really started to get a little heated. The temperature rose. But now I feel like we're in a little bit of a calm down. That's usually what happens after a big fight, and people are left wondering, scrambling even, going, okay, what's next? Well, there's still a lot to come, fellas. Let me just call a couple of people here. See if we can start cooking with some hot oil, some hot grease, as they say. And we shall get to that. Don't forget, like I said, don't forget to hit the like. It really helps us out here. Let me share the screen here with everybody. All right. Now, let's get down to business here. All right. Terence Crawford decimated Errol Spence, in case you've been living under a rock. And, obviously a certain little interview we did seemed to set off a bit of a firestorm against our will. It wasn't our intention to set off a firestorm, but nevertheless, a lot of talking is good for business, as they say. But now we got to get down to brass tacks, really get down to the nitty-gritty, which is the boxing. Where does Terence Crawford go from here? Well, I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but Shakur Stevenson, who is one of Terence Crawford's stablemates, has suggested that in his opinion, Terence Crawford could beat Saul Canelo Alvarez. Now, this got a lot of people thinking, scratching their heads. Could it be possible for Terence Crawford to beat Saul Canelo Alvarez, a man who's competed as high as 175? And of course, the images and the flashbacks of Crawford demolishing Errol Spence are still fresh in everyone's memories. And see, this is what happens in boxing. We remember what you did last. And so a lot of people seem to think that that could translate into a Canelo fight. Now, some people are saying, but hold on. Canelo's been fighting above 160 for years now. And he's fought and knocked out bigger men. Does Crawford have a chance? Would it even be possible? Well, I say crazier things have happened. Now, Crawford already sort of poo-pooed this idea. He said that Canelo doesn't really interest him because of the size factor. But again, that's just talk. That is just talk, because let's talk about we're going to get into in depth more later about this, but the pay-per-view numbers came out. Dan Rafael, who some suspect is a bit of a PBC jockey, has come out and said that as per sources, those mysterious sources, it's never the Showtime or the PBC who directly releases numbers, by the way. It's always some adjacent writer, says that it did between 650,000 and 675,000 pay-per-view buys. Okay, that's Dan Rafael. Meanwhile, Rick Glacier, who some have accused of being a PBC hater, that's the word that people like to throw around, hater, claims that it did a touch under 550,000. Now, a touch, I don't know what that means. I do know that the court told me I'm not allowed to touch my ex-wife anymore, lest I face jail. That being said, I suppose a touch could possibly mean, let's assume that it means between 500 and 550,000 pay-per-view buys, which is what I believe most of us expected to do. Now, some people are going to say, well, BDA, why would, Rick Glacier, that he dislikes the PBC, how do you know his numbers are true? Well, I don't know who's right. Until the PBC Showtime starts releasing the numbers themselves, I have no inkling or clue about who is correct. Now, of course, as Jimmy has said numerous times in the past, the reason why Showtime PBC doesn't want to release them, or actually they can't lie about them, is because they're legally prohibited from doing so. So what they do is they grab another writer, or two in this case, with Michael Benson, because I think he was repeating the same numbers as Dan Rafael, and they give them to them. They give those numbers to them, and then those writers say, well, source told us that it is between this and that number. But of course, the PBC Showtime never releases them themselves, so we're left hanging on our decks here and wondering who really has the correct number. But why do I bring up the numbers? And why are we going to continue to bring up the numbers later on? Because I know some people say, oh, come on, this is a boxing show. Why do you talk about numbers? Well, first of all, this is interesting because it brings us back to the Canelo-Alvarez fight. Terence Crawford has also stated that the Jaron Ennis fight disinterests him. That's Jaron Ennis, for those of you unaware, is an undefeated prospect, maybe now bordering on contender, at 147 pounds. His best win is Sergey Lipinets, who is a 140-pounder. So people are here left wondering, well, if Crawford doesn't want to fight him, then what's next? Jermell Charlo's fighting Canelo Alvarez next in September the 30th, and it's going to be at 168. So, I mean, it figures that if Charlo, who is a big dude, by the way, is probably not going to have to cut weight to make 168, meaning he's probably going to pack on some natural added pounds, it stands to reason he might not go back to 154. So that's the fight that Terence Crawford has shown interest in. But then again, might not happen unless it's at a catch weight. And if it's at a catch weight, then what's the point? Are Charlo's titles going to be on the line? So I'm thinking, and even if he does fight Charlo in pay-per-view, how many pay-per-view buys is that even going to do? Crawford, who I suspect must have increased his Q profile, his Q rating after last Saturday's victory, is still not a big name. I mean, him and Spence had to combine each other and they had to talk a lot and there had to be a lot of hype for them to get to 500,000 pay-per-view buys. So if he fights Jaron Ennis, he fights Charlo, how is that going to perform? Now, the best and biggest money fight out there for him has to be Canelo Alvarez. Now, that's, like I said, do I think it's going to happen? Do I think it should happen? No. I'd rather see Crawford fight somebody more closer to his weight, like Charlo, who, like as I said, unfortunately is already tied in with Canelo. And that's the thing, though. Charlo, even if Charlo fought Crawford, there'd probably be some sort of catch weight or rehydration clause. Because, like I said, Charlo's a pretty big dude. Jaron Ennis, I mean, the guy's unproven. I don't really know. I mean, he brings in physicality, physical talent, but other than that, Crawford matches him maybe a tad less faster than Jaron Ennis, but much more experienced, just all-around better fighter. So if we're talking about a fight that could break 1 million, and I think it easily would, it would have to be Crawford versus Canelo, because as a business, I'm looking at this from a business perspective, by the way, not as the BDA fan perspective. I'm looking at this as if I were a promoter, what's the fight that's going to maximize profits? It's Canelo fight. And you strike when the iron's hot. Right now, Terence Crawford he's never been hotter in terms of his appeal to the mainstream as he's going to be now. So that's the fight that should be made pronto in terms of money. But now, from a boxing perspective, from a boxing fan's perspective, should it be made? You know, well, I got Bucho here jumping in. Bucho, when it comes to Canelo versus Crawford, some people would say, yeah, but Canelo's fought over 175. Meanwhile, Crawford's really a 147-pounder. Is it too insane to expect that fight?
It's not insane. I remember years ago when there were the first talks of Floyd Mayweather potentially fighting Oscar De La Hoya. Remember what some people were saying, that fight would never happen because of the size difference? I think even Floyd Sr. mentioned that. Like, no, the fight's not going to happen, the weight difference. And it ended up happening. And it wasn't even that big of a size difference. And it's going to be the same thing for this fight, I think. Yeah, Canelo's thicker, but he's shorter, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, they're the same height. So it's not as bad as people think. The size difference is not going to be as big as people think once they step into the ring. I think this fight will happen.
I don't know about
the money talks, by the way. There would be a lot of money involved in this fight. A lot.
Here's the thing. According to Champignon.com, which is the BoxRec alternative, they have Crawford listed as 5 feet 8 inches tall. They have Canelo as 5'8" as well. But I've seen Canelo. I've compared him to other fighters. I've looked at the shoes he's wearing to see if he's wearing some sort of levitation or whatever, or elevation rather. He looks like he's about 5'7". Crawford might be about 5'8" and a half. So this whole thing about them being the same height, I don't quite buy it. Also, Crawford, I believe, now, again, I believe, I'm not sure, I'd have to find the article, but I believe he said in an interview once that he walks around 170-something pounds. So, I mean, is it really that insane then to consider this fight? And by the way, shout out to Soothsayer for his contribution to the Super Chat. Shout out to Soothsayer, rather. He says, hey, BD and Bucho, who is your favorite whack packer from the Stern Show? That's a question out of left field. I'd have to go with Elegant Elliot Offen. Right.
I was going to say the tranny.
Elegant Elliot Offen, right? That's gangster talk. Anyway, yeah, I would say...
Mental cripple. Talking mental cripple.
Oh, that fucking insane guy. There was also Bigfoot. That was another guy. Well, I don't know, Howard. But anyway, yeah, we could do a second Renaissance episode just on that. Shout out to Soothsayer. But back to the boxing. I gotta say, Bucho, it's why not make the fight? Because like I said, Pacquiao versus De La Hoya. I remember, I don't know if people remember the timeline for this fight. Mayweather and De La Hoya were supposed to rematch in 2008. De La Hoya decided to get a tune-up against Stevie Forbes to prepare him for that elusive style. But then by the middle of the summer, Mayweather didn't want to fight anymore. That was at the time where he was dabbling with concerts. He thought that the promoters would pay him money just to show up to concerts. And the rumor is that I think Lil Wayne or one of those other rappers told him, look, listen, this ain't gonna work out, man. We can't just pay you to show up. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? So he actually returned to boxing because of that. But be that as it may, he was out of a commission for 2008, and so De La Hoya was scrambling for a big November fight or December, and they decided to go with Pacquiao. And Pacquiao's had only fought at 135. That's where he was at. So he had to skip 140 all the way to 147, and people said this is insane. The guy's about 5 feet 5 inches tall. De La Hoya is about 5'10". He's Pacquiao's never fought above 135. This is insanity. This is insanity. This is insanity. Well, it wasn't so insane. It wasn't, because Pacquiao ended up whipping him, and that was a real beating, by the way. So Crawford, I mean, look, I'm not saying a lot of people, but I'm seeing some saying that Crawford could beat Canelo, Bucho. Again, this is only a handful of people. This is like when Canelo beat Caleb Plant, and some people, it was like about 3 or 4, were suggesting that he could beat he could compete with Alexander Usyk. This is where we're at now, Bucho. Every time somebody has a sensational performance, people only remember the last performance, and they think
Mr. BDA, we had years ago. Remember Low Place? He used to say that Spence would beat Canelo. And this is when Canelo was at middleweight at that time, I believe. So, yeah, we always have we have these types of people that talk crazy. Some people actually believe Crawford can beat Canelo. Why not? Let's try it out. Listen, what are Crawford's options? Because I'm hearing that some people are saying, "Oh, Crawford should fight Butsenis," but then others say, "Well, Butsenis isn't ready." Okay, then what's next? What else is there? Well, Charlo. Okay, but Charlo's fighting Canelo now. Okay, so then what? Team Zoo? Then if Charlo beats if Crawford beats Team Zoo, they're gonna be saying the same thing. Well, who was Team Zoo? So that's why I think that the only mega fight left for Terence Crawford is a Canelo fight.
I would agree. But again, it's
and the money and everything. Like, it's a perfect fight. Like if Crawford loses that fight, then whatever. He stepped up, he moved up in weight, he got paid. And okay, he lost, he retires. If he wins, could you imagine what that would do to his career?
I mean, you're right. If you're looking at it from let's say you're Terence Crawford's PR person, you could spin it very easily if he loses. You could just say, "Hey, listen, there's like you said,
right.
I took a risk.
There's nothing to lose. All to win. There's money. You're gonna win money, and you have an opportunity to take your career to the next level. Like, he's already a Hall of Famer, but now he would go beyond that. I don't know what's beyond the Hall of Fame, but you know what I mean. He would be in that elite level class.
Exactly. So why not? I mean, financially it makes sense. Make the fight happen. Why financially? Still, I would really have to see how Canelo looks against Jermell Charlo, because I've said it before. I'll continue saying it. Charlo is a big guy. At 154, you watch him when he's walking around. You look at his frame. He's probably killing himself to make 154. Or I think he said, again, don't quote me on this, but I believe he's talked about maybe some of the difficulties making 154. I don't know. But if he's up to, let's say, 160, he would still look fleshed in. Put him in at 165 pounds, the guy's going to make weight comfortably, believe me. So with that being said, wouldn't that be too much for Crawford as well? So what's a couple of pounds more? And like you say, he has that out. I'm just trying to think this through as we're going along with this idea. And I'm thinking, I don't know, man. I don't know. Depending on how Canelo looks against Charlo, I think that's another idea to push. But Crawford, I suspect that Crawford could preserve himself well, even if he stays inactive, waiting for Canelo and Charlo to tango. Because he's 35. He looked very sharp in his last fight against Spence. So I don't think a bit of a layoff would hurt him. Maybe a tune-up, but again, that's the problem. He's saying, "Well, I'm not interested in Jaron Ennis. He's not interested in the Canelo because it's too big." He says he doesn't want to see this. He doesn't think the Spence fight's a good idea, but I suspect that's up to Spence, because I think he's the one that can enforce a rematch. So you're gonna wonder what are his options? Just stay idle?
Yeah, it's a good question. Some people say that Crawford does have something to lose. We would be getting his face broken. He doesn't want to get his face broken at something. JDA says Canelo is knocking out Charlo.
Well, I haven't even touched on, we haven't touched on that fight yet, but I was looking at some because I'm working on a video here for that fight. And Charlo, he's a very good fighter. I mean, his record proves it. But I gotta ask, has Canelo ever lost to a guy like Tony Harrison? And Charlo should have lost that first Castaño fight. I understand, obviously, he avenged that loss in emphatic fashion, but he lost that first fight. And I'm thinking, has Canelo ever lost to a guy with the style of Castaños? Just a little shorter guy that comes to him. In fact, he excels with that. I mean, that's a stylistic thing, obviously, but I'm just saying, Charlo has been outfought before and outthought in that ring, outmaneuvered. And Canelo, I think there's a bit of a mirage there with the John Ryder fight. Because Gonzalo brought that point up. Gonzalo said, because I told Gonzalo, I didn't like how Canelo looked. Just sledgehammering, which is a procedure and tactic that he's used in the last couple of fights. Just he goes in there and just sledgehammers guys one shot at a time. And Gonzalo said, yeah, it's because he could. That's because he could get away with it. He made a great point. He says, when Mayweather was outboxing people with one shot, everyone called it a masterpiece. But Canelo does it going forward, and now all of a sudden, that's rudimentary, that's barbaric, that's primitive. No, I actually, in Gonzalo, the way he put it in perspective, I said, gosh, that's a great point. He's actually coming forward and doing that, to me, is harder than doing it off the back foot. So I think Canelo is very selective in the way he fights now, because if you look at the Golovkin fight, he was boxing better than he did against John Ryder. Because he had to, because he was facing a guy who had a jab, who had better defense, just an all-around better fighter. So I don't expect that Canelo to show up against Jermell Charlo, rather. And speaking of Gonzalo, we get the guns jumping here. Gonzalo, you there?
Yeah, my internet might not be so good because I'm outside the compound. Gotta go drop my wife off.
The cartel compound?
Cool.
Gonzalo's got the compound. He's got barbed wire around it.
Yeah.
He's got attack dogs. He's got Lobito always ready to bite someone's ass in case they try.
The cameras. I got like 6 cameras.
There you go, man. But Gonzalo, let's see if the connection stabilizes. But we're talking about Crawford has thrown cold water on the idea of a Canelo fight. But Bucho and I were talking. It's like, what else is there for Crawford? I mean, the numbers just came out from Rick Glacier, who is a trusted source, and he claims he did about 550,000 pay-per-view buys. So we were talking just from the perspective of promoters, as business people, right? What's the best monetary fight out there for Crawford? Jaron Ennis wouldn't do much money. Charlo wouldn't do much money. The Spence fight, it would be a wipeout. That would do much more money, a rematch in that. Why not a Canelo fight? What are your thoughts on that?
I think Crawford expressed that he wouldn't, the highest he would ever move up was 154. That them boys get pretty big up there. But he's rehydrating really like around the mid 60s, maybe a little higher, right beneath 170. So he can technically fight Canelo, but I don't think he'd be willing to. I think he's got everything. He's the same height as Canelo. He got the longer arms than Canelo. He's pretty strong. He's a strong dude. The only thing I don't think he's as resistant as Canelo, because he got the wire frame and he's got strength, but I don't think he could take a punch like that at the higher weights.
Yeah, that's a good point, man, because he wasn't doing well against Kavaluskas on the back foot, and he actually had to push Kavaluskas' back, which was brilliant. I don't think he could, if he tries that against Canelo, I don't think that's going to work out. So it would be a dangerous fight, but like Bucho said, from a PR perspective, you could easily spin that and say, well, if he loses to Crawford, his brain trust could probably say, okay, he took a risk. He tried to go for all-time great status by beating a bigger guy who's a world class as well. On top of that, pound for pound, I think that the risk would be physical, that he could get seriously harmed in there. But isn't that what guys do? Isn't that what these guys at this level, pound for pound, should be doing? Taking those type of risks?
Yeah. Yeah, it would. It would. I mean, because people are saying that now Crawford, I think Shakur posted that he'll beat Canelo because of Crawford's ability.
Yeah, man. I mean, what Rapid was on earlier, and he made a good point. He says, well, Crawford is calling out Charlo, who's a very big dude, despite the fact he's at 154, but he doesn't want to fight Canelo. It's like, I don't know, man. I think it's a viable fight. And again, if it's a record-setting fight. It would be a record-setting fight. It's like, hey, I'm taking a
It would be
much
a lot.
bigger guy.
Absolutely.
I don't know,
I think
man.
there would be a lot of money involved. But that's my opinion. Jimmy, are you there? Let's get Jimmy's opinion here.
Yes, sir.
Jimmy,
Well, Canelo also got ability too. He can throw some those, but yeah.
yeah, of course. Like Jimmy, do you think that a Canelo Crawford fight would generate a lot of money, a lot of attention?
Well, of course, just Canelo alone. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That in itself is going to generate, and the better the competition he fights, the more it generates. You put it this way, as a benchmark with him pretty much at this point, you're looking at about 500,000 pay-per-views just for his name on the banner. I think that the more you up the competition, especially with the name that Crawford has etched in psyche of the sports fan, the combat sports fan in the country, yes, I think it would sell. Depends on the weight. Like if Canelo, say if Crawford was to try to go up 2-3 weight classes, that'd be silly. It'd be too much on him. It'd be slower. It'd just be too much on his weight, on his frame. And the problem is, can Canelo get back down to 154? I don't think so.
No.
Literally eat away he'd be eating away 30, 40 pounds of muscle, pretty much. And with Charlo, though, and I'll state this again for the record, he beats Charlo probably as easy. Crawford at 154 beats Mel, not Maul, but Mel at 154 as easy, if not easier, than he beat Spence. Because they're the same fighter, trained by the same guy. They have the same techniques, very straightforward, 1-2 guy, long stretch, jam. They hammer the jab. They step into it by opening up their stance. And Crawford's the guy you don't open up your stance with unless you know you're going to connect. Because if you open up your stance and he catches you off balance, he's going to make you look stupid. And Canelo very seldom opens up his stance like that unless it's really he's going to catch you. So it actually would probably be a boring fight.
Now you see, if that's the sentiment from the majority of boxing fans, then that's why it's even more important then for this fight to happen. Because like Jimmy, like I was saying earlier, Crawford doesn't really feel excited for a Jaron Ennis fight. And from a business perspective, it would probably do very badly. We're gonna address the numbers, by the way, in a couple of minutes of the last pay-per-view. Charlo would probably do maybe a little better than the Jaron Ennis fight, maybe worse. I don't know. Errol Spence rematch. I don't think most people want to see another brutality like that. So whatever. So I mean, from a business perspective, all I'm saying is the iron is hot now. Terence Crawford is at the apex of his popularity and respect. Because now people are saying he could beat anybody from 140 to 154. You even said it yourself. He probably beats Jermell easily. So I'm thinking if this is the opinion of the people, why not make the Canelo fight? And also, Dolomite in the chat says Crawford vs Canelo is what we need. Let's see who's number one for this era. Ask from both sides. Let's be civil and not be like the PBC fans. See, that's the thing though. That's the level we're at now. Canelo's an established pound for pounder, all-time great. Crawford has entered into that category with the Spence win, although now some people are calling it into question. So if those guys are both at that level and there's no other big money fight, why not make that one? I gotta wonder, why not? And I gotta wonder if people at the brain trust top management, upper management, might end up starting to thinking about that fight a little bit more now. A little bit. Jimmy, also wanted to bring up something here. The numbers, the pay-per-view numbers. How much did you predict Crawford Spence was going to do? I forgot.
I said probably right around 500,000.
500,000? Okay.
In around there. Yeah, in and around there. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. I didn't really know. But I figured somewhere around there. I guess, what are they reporting, like 650?
Hold on. Let me ask Butch. Butch, how much did you say? Because I just wanted to get an idea of how much, or what we predicted. Or
No, I didn't predict anything.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll say, since there's no one else on the panel, I'll say I was with Jimmy on that one. I said 500K, and I said that if they did above that, it would be a good, good day all around. Now, Michael Benson and what's his name, Fat Dan are reporting about 650,000. Rick Glacier's reporting 550,000, which is about what Jimmy and I expected. Jimmy, correct me if I'm wrong, but does the cable company take a half or a third of the pay-per-view revenue?
40%.
40%? Okay.
They take 40% right off the top. Yeah, that's the bare minimum, depending on the provider. But Showtime would absolutely take 40%. So that's 40% right off the top. Would it be? I mean, they never released their guaranteed money, so I don't know what they made for guaranteed money. So which is important because I don't know what they made. If it was, sometimes you get like guaranteed money like that, it's guaranteed and you don't get no upside when they guarantee you money. There's no upside on the pay-per-view. Usually that's when there's no guarantee, because it's like, you know, you can make more if you sell more, but I don't know. Probably around 10, 15 million, who knows? But no, because, and here's the thing, if he goes up to, that would generate too. If he goes to 154 and fought Charlo, like, you know, Charlo should do, is, you know, stay there. And I just, this jumping up 2 weight classes for a cash grab, I'm just not for it. You know what I mean? I don't like it with Charlo doing that. First off, it's disrespectful to guys like Zoo and anybody else 154. At least the WBO, and I'm sure you'll get into that later, is stripping Charlo of his belt. So, which is always a good thing, I think. But yeah, I think Crawford versus Charlo 154 would do good numbers. Probably around the same, if not better, because it would be historic now. Now 3 weight classes unifying in the 4-belt era.
I tell you why I don't think
impressive shit. It wouldn't do the numbers Canelo. You're right. It would not do the numbers Canelo would do versus Canelo.
Tell you
no questions asked.
I'll tell you why I don't think a Charlo Crawford fight would do that well. Now again, this is dependent on how Canelo versus Charlo whatever happens in that fight. But let's say Canelo really just beats the crap out of Charlo and it's not even close. He goes down there with a loss. If he goes back down in weight with a loss, I think that takes a little bit of luster off of Crawford. And believe me, Crawford and Charlo, they're not big stars. So, I mean, depending on how much... Again, Crawford now, we know what type of fighter he or what type of character he is. He's going to want 10 mil for any fight going forward now. Because he thinks he's a star. He's always thought he's a star. Despite the fact that his pay-per-view numbers in the past have been horrendous. Maybe now they're going to improve. I have to assume they're going to improve somewhat after the Spence fight and some of the attention that garnered. But even then, a fight against Charlo, I don't know, man. Like if they do 500,000, like you said, I think that's okay. That means he can do that now with a solid B side. But the Canelo fight, that's where the real money is, and never underestimate Jimmy.
Yes.
Money.
Yes.
Money. If they put that in Crawford's head and they go, yeah, we can get you 30 million for a Canelo fight, guaranteed, right off the top, minimum.
You'll take it. You'll fucking take it.
Hard not to. Hard to turn down $30 million, right?
You know what that, like the song says, money, money, money. Money. I mean, why not? It's money. It's a risk. These guys, listen, some people out there might be thinking, and I'm thinking the same way, by the way. I'm a good Christian fella. I don't like to rock the boat too much. So I'm thinking, whoa, going up there against a guy who's gone up to 175 in Canelo, that's a big risk. Crawford is a risk taker. That's why he's at where he's at now. Same thing with Canelo. These guys love to take risks. Jimmy, you used to be a biker. Yeah, you're a jack of all trades. You've lived a full life. Put yourself in the place of a boxer. Wouldn't you say, hey, 30 million? And there's no loss. If you lose, you say you lost to the bigger man.
No, I know. Absolutely. I just it's for the record books. It really wouldn't do anything, though, unless his belts were on the line, if Canelo's belts were on the line. But I mean, that would be. Well, then again, Canelo would be older too. But go to 3 weight classes, man. That's a huge jump for a guy who's pretty much stretched out now. He's strong, absolutely wiry, strong guy. But his frame, like his calves, his wrists, he's just not that thick where Canelo can put on size. And the thing is, because his technique and what he does well, Crawford, it kind of relies on his wiriness, his thinness, his snappy of his punch, his quickness, his quick fibers, and you know what I mean, his quick twitchiness of his arms. You start putting on mass on that, this slows things down. So it would slow him down, which would only benefit Canelo. Going up to 168. I just can't see him. Canelo, what would he maybe come down to 164? I don't see him coming down to 160. Why should he? If you're Canelo, I'm going to make tens of millions of dollars no matter what. I'm not going to fucking emaciate myself or anybody. I'm the fucking king.
That's
I
right.
mean, and you know what? 550, whether it's, I believe Rick Glacier way more than I believe any random fucking, reporter, something that's been, leaked through, which isn't surprising. Everybody knows they fucking goose their pay-per-views. It's the reason why they release them through compliant press that's not held, accountable for the numbers. So I believe Glacier. He's always been dead on in the past, even when the PBCs come out and said the same numbers he did after the fact. So 550, it kind of takes the bite out of we run this shit. Because I'll tell you, man, the meltdown on Twitter this past fucking week has been precious. And that, the whole, we run this shit, this is our fucking sport, really? And the biggest fight in boxing history, like that was the thing everybody was saying, from the chicken squawkers and the LDBC. And you guys didn't even pull half what a Kazakh and a Mexican did in America, a Mexican-born Mexican, not a Mexican-American, somebody born in Mexico and someone from the Kazakh mountains or whatever, or from Kazakhstan. They did 1.3 million, right? In America. So don't tell me it was the biggest fight in history. Not to take anything away from Canelo, the job that, Crawford did, but it wasn't the biggest fight in history by no stretch.
What's interesting?
And I think that played out as much.
It's interesting, man. If I could dig up, and I'm going to do it the best attempt possible, especially with the, at the end of the year when we do the most shocking moments of the year recap, I'm going to dig up as much as I can on the lead up to the Crawford-Spence fight because it was just insanity. It was utter insanity. Was it as insane as, say, the Wilder-Fury saga? No. But it was up there in terms of how toxic and vicious people got on the internet, the Spence fans versus the Crawford fans. And that's why I understand why the Crawford fans are gloating after in the aftermath of this event. But it's interesting. Bucho, I think, I forget what he posted, but he said, well, now a couple of days after the fight, or I think the day after the fight, he said, well, this concludes the Spence-Crawford saga. And it's almost like, yeah, what happened? I mean, it was certainly, it paled in comparison to Hearns Leonard in terms of action. Even De La Hoya Trinidad was a little bit more competitive. I mean, this was a whitewash. This was a demolition derby from Terence Crawford. And you look back at all the hype, all the drama, you go, this was it? This was it. The guy, and here's, it's interesting about that, by the way. Here's the thing. When they get guys like Golovkin losing to Canelo, he was exposed. He was exposed. He wasn't that guy. He wasn't the Marvin Hagler of our generation that they tried to sell us, that the new media tried to sell us. When Lomachenko loses competitive decisions or outright gets robbed against younger, bigger guys, he got exposed. He got whooped against
A whooping.
Right, a whooping. When Spence loses, the guy that they said could move up to middleweight to beat Canelo Alvarez, I haven't heard the words exposed anywhere. I haven't heard any of the Spence fans say, man, my guy got whooped. Now they say, wow, let's give it up. Let's clap. Let's clap. Let's give it up for boxing and let's give it up for Crawford and Spence for giving us this fight. Oh, wait a minute. What happened to... Listen, because if Lomachenko, Golovkin, and Canelo get exposed when they lose decisions, what the fuck, what happened to Spence? Why would you call that?
So Spence, that like there's some excuses going on that Spence might have been dehydrated, which I believe is possible. But Spence never went up in weight, right? He never went up in weight, had to come back down and make a fight with Terence Crawford. No, that's not what happened, right? Whatever happened was maybe he fucking prolonged the fight so long that he killed himself, basically. You know what I'm saying? If there's going to be an excuse, even though the ass whipping that he took, I can't really say if he was healthy, he wins the fight. No, he probably just makes it a bit more competitive. I'll give them that. But your point is well taken. Like these guys, Lomachenko, Triple G, everybody thinks he won the first fight against Canelo. Old ass Lomachenko at 35, fighting Devin Haney, who's 24, who's a big 135 pounder. People think he actually won that fight. I'm one of them. I think he won that fight. So no, you can't compare the two. What happened to Earl Spence, who if he had a hiccup in training, whatever, let's give him that. He got his ass destroyed. That was worse than what Tyson Fury did to Wilder, man.
That's right. No, you're right. And you know what?
Yeah, that
Listen,
was a drumming.
there's a couple of people in the chat saying, well, Crawford already said he's not going above 154, and Canelo already said he's not going back down. Guys, you're taking what these guys are saying at their word. Like, they say something. They say something.
Throw
and
them
it
the money,
becomes-
and they're going to change their mind. This is
Exactly.
Floyd De La Hoya, Pacquiao De La Hoya. We've seen this before.
Recognize. Let me just say this: float them a package of what the fight could make and what these guys could earn. Believe me, they'll start talking about finding a middle ground to make the fighting.
Look, I think the fight could happen if they really wanted to make it. My problem with that fight is that there's going to be excuses no matter what. So let's say Crawford decides to go to 165. Let's say catchweight, and he gets knocked out, which I think more than likely is probably what will happen. If he went up and all Canelo had to do was drop 3 pounds, I think Canelo will be too strong for him. We'll probably end up knocking him out late, right? Now, let's just say the other way around. Let's say Canelo says, I'm going to go back to 160. I think he can get outboxed there, lose on points. If he was to get stopped, it'll be like dehydration or some bullshit like that. So either way, it's not going to work out in terms of like credit. If that's what they're looking for. If they're looking for 100% credit, they might not get it if they have to, meet the other side pretty much all the way. But the money, like nobody could deny that. You offer Crawford $40 million right now and say go up to 165, I think he does it.
You offer
guaranteed.
You offer anybody out there 35 grand to fight Canelo or Crawford with one hand tied behind your back. I guarantee you most people would do it. Most people would fight these guys with a handicap just for 35 grand. Now you offer Canelo and Crawford, guys that are world-class athletes.
I want a couple of $100,000. Not me. But,
well, there you go.
Maybe 500K.
Recognize he's a negotiator.
I'm a little high.
Recognize he's a born negotiator. But the point is, listen. Some people. We're just speculating here. Obviously, we're in the flexible realm of speculation. But crazier things have happened, people. That's all I'm saying. It wouldn't surprise me if once these guys start catching a whiff of the money that they can make with this fight, someone's going to float the idea around to them. So stay tuned for that one. That's all I'm going to say about that. One thing I did want to say about the Spence-Crawford fight, and I don't know if we touched on it too much, was the criticism that Spence's trainer, Derrick James, is receiving in the aftermath of this demolition derby that took place. And Antonio Tarver had some choice words for Derrick James. I don't have the clip written here, but if I'll paraphrase, he said something along the lines of, it was a horrible game plan. There was no head movement. There were no feints from Errol Spence. He said just a horrible job. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Isn't he? Is Tarver? My question to you guys is Tarver being a little harsh?
Yeah. You're not in this corner. You don't know what's going on. I would say he's being a little too critical. You could just say, I wouldn't mind if you said, I would have stopped that fight a little earlier. I'll be cool with that. But all that stuff that he's a horrible trainer, I don't know.
Yeah, and I just think it's you're expecting a leopard to change his spots. Go look back at his career. It's never what Spence has done. He's always been a come forward southpaw pressure fighter who does this extremely long stretch jab to the midsection, then he comes back upstairs to your head. Comes on a straight line. He's always kept his head on a straight line. He's never been a weaver side to side. Never been slippery because he's always been usually the bigger guy in there. Look at his bundle
too.
Yeah, it's 60% connect ratio is insane.
Yeah, what I'm saying is Crawford was committed to staying southpaw, and the reason why is because he has two-fisted power. So I believe, in my opinion, that his right is just as strong, if not stronger, than his left, and that's basically what he did. He said, look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my stronger hand closer to him. And I'll be able to throw combinations with my left and hit him with some big shots. So wherever he's getting hit it doesn't matter with what hand he's getting hit. He's going to be getting hit with hard shots, but my right is going to be very close to him. That's why he was able to drop him with the jab, a hook. Did anybody notice that? Like everything was with the right, because that's a strong hand. He's a smart kid. He probably said, "Look, this dude is done for. Like he can't fuck with me. He's having problems. Let's say he's having problems making weight. He can't fuck with me no more. Like those days are over with. His time to beat me was 3 years ago. He can't do it now for whatever reason. He can't do it now. I'm stronger. I don't have the fucking problems that he has making weight. I don't live the lifestyle that he lives. I'm not the one getting into car accidents. This dude can't fuck with me. He's dead me. I'm gonna fight him lefty, and it's gonna be a simple game plan. And that simple game plan is gonna take him out of his comfort zone. Get it? I'm gonna be whacking him all over the place, and he's gonna be out of here in less than 12 rounds.
I want to say something about that. Well, real quick, shout out to Jack Dakota Nuff for his contribution to Super Chat. He says, a good middle ground is a catch weight of 161, 162. Okay, I don't know if Canelo can make 161, 162, Jack, but shout out to you. Thank you for your contribution. Jimmy, you were going to say something?
Well, I was going to say, they knew going into it, it's Beaumont was right on the money. They were 100% correct. First off, I want to say Derek James supposedly said he didn't even study film. He doesn't need to because he's working on what he does. That's what he said going in. If he didn't study film, then he's an imbecile, right? I'm a big proponent of studying film. You study. If you have film on somebody, you study it. You learn a lot from it. But taking away his best weapon is his jab. And how do you take away a southpaw's jab? By fighting him southpaw. You know what I mean? You take away that. That's the benefit of being a southpaw. You just take him. Yeah, exactly. You fight him southpaw. So that's why he came out as a southpaw and never switched to orthodox. Because why give him the
when you fight a guy in the same stance, Jimmy, whether southpaw or orthodox, what you want to do is you want to beat them with your lead foot. And Spence is fucking slow. He's slow, and he was probably a little bit slower. Like I do buy a little bit that he might have been a little bit weight trained. But whose fault is that?
Exactly.
The guy who's postponing the fucking fight for all these years.
Now, let me say something about Derek James because, first of all, De La Hoya, he called it. I think whatever it is that he's shoving up his nose is actually giving him extrasensory perception because he said, watch the Trainer of the Year curse strike. And wouldn't you know it, the goddamn thing happened. The Trainer of the Year curse did indeed strike on that very night because, and I'll say this, I don't think it's a curse. I just think it's the nature of boxing. Listen, if you win the Boxing Writers Association award for Trainer of the Year, that means your fighters, or you must have at least 2 fighters that did something extraordinary that year. Let's say you got 3 or 4 fighters that really accomplished something. That's what earned you the title of Boxing Trainer of the Year. Well, what happens the next year? Those 4 guys are high level. They're going to be fighting high level again. So that statistically, if you got 4 guys, 2 of those guys are going to lose, right? And so that's what's been going on with all these guys who win Trainer of the Year. Within a 2-year window of them earning the title, their guys start losing. And it's Buddy McGirt, he used to be the red-hot trainer back in 2004. Then eventually he lost a lot of steam, and he's still a respected trainer, but he's no longer the guru that people thought he was back in 2004. Same thing with Virgil Hunter a couple of years ago, Eddie Reynoso a couple of years ago. Freddie Roach to a certain extent escaped that. Well, Gallagher too, yes, thank you. And so that's what's going on with Derek James. Anthony Joshua had a horrible performance against Frank. I already forget the guy's name. And when I say horrible, I should say subpar compared to what we were used to seeing him do against guys of that class years earlier. Then Frank Martin ends up getting outboxed. I thought he lost his last fight, and I thought he got a gift. Now Errol Spence, who was really the whatchamacallit, like the prized horse in his stable, just gets decimated, completely vaporized, dissected and vivisected. And now Charlo's going up against fucking Canelo. That he could end up getting another loss. So that's what happens with these guys. So I think Steve Kim put it best. And so this is something that we've been saying for a while here. In fact, I think Boxing Chief and I reiterated this the week before the Crawford Spence fight is whenever a trainer wins, they'll give the trainer a lot of props, and whenever a fighter wins, they give the trainer props, and then when the fighter loses, they take the credit away from the trainer and they blame him. That's the nature of the beast. The trainer's in a bit of a no-win situation. Or lose.
So they gave it to him last year, right? I'm assuming they gave. Okay, so he's probably just due for a bad year. Like, okay, his one of his best, probably his most popular fighter. I don't know if he's his best fighter, but he might be his most popular one. Just got decimated. More likely, Charlo's going to lose to Canelo. I'm looking at that fight and I'm saying to myself, I don't know if he could last 12 rounds. But even if he does, he loses on points more than likely. So yeah, you win it this year, and you lose, and you have a shit year the following year, and basically. Then you go back to 2024 and you might have a better year if you have any fighters left, depending on how Charlo loses. Spence looks like he might be shot for all the stuff that was mentioned on this channel with what's his name, Dr. 805. He might be done. You know what I'm saying? There's a really good chance that he's not the same anymore. A lot of people are speculating that he might be damaged goods, and rightfully so. I can definitely see that where he might be, no good from this point on, especially after the ass whipping that he got from Terence Crawford. And that's fighting. If you did fighting long enough and you fight tough competition after tough competition, you're gonna lose some of those fights. That's just the nature of it. I don't care who you are. I don't care. Even Canelo, who's been on a hot streak for the last, 7 or 8 years, fighting tough competition, he may have not lost on record, but he's lost some fights. I've seen some fights where I'm like, he lost that fight. Golovkin, Bivol, right? So even a guy like him loses fights and they could come back and go on a winning streak. So that's what boxing is, ebbs and flows. An ass whipping like that, depending on the guy, the point of his career that he's in. Remember, Spence is 33. He just made like $20 million or $25 million. He might not have that dog in him, to get back and go on a winning streak.
Speaking of dog, I gotta ask. Well, first of all, let's read a super chat here. Shout out to Not, that's K-Not, for his contribution to the super chat. He says, salute BDA, with a Crawford vs Triple G fight do well. Absolutely. I think it would do financially well. I don't know if Crawford would do well physically. I don't know if that's good for his health. Although, if Kell Brook was able to give Triple G a good 5 rounds of work, and that was years ago, back when Triple G was younger, maybe Crawford could pull it off. I don't know. It's just that if the Canelo fight is a big risk because of the size, remember, punching power is the last thing to go. So I don't think that one would happen. I think that the only way Crawford would fight above 154, as he stated, would probably be for beaucoup money against Canelo. By the way, I gotta ask. Speaking of the dog, who was choking a dog in the background? I heard a yelp or a screech.
That was me. That was my dog. Somebody rang the doorbell and the dog freaks out, and I had to mute it to scream at him. I hate when he does that. It scares the shit out of me because he was right next to me. But yeah, sorry about that. But
don't make me call. Don't make me call.
What's that?
Don't make me call the SPCA or whatever they call it within the US.
ASPCA.
ASPCA.
Yeah, we have an animal control officer out here. I think he's a junkie, man. I talked to him, he nodded off in our conversation. So, swear to God, he was nodding off. So he had long sleeves on in the summer too, so he's probably banging his shit. But anyways, being honest, man, summertime, dude's got fucking long sleeves on. It's always a sign. But so Spencer's shot. Listen, he's done. His balance. If you go back and watch that fight, his balance was horrible. And it was more than a flash knockdown. Yeah, wobbly all over the place.
And they're kind of uncomfortable. Like they have that little uncomfortable walk when they walk. They walk with their heels on. That's what it seemed like with Spence.
Yeah, that double right cross, the double right hook he caught him with when he put him down. The first shot buckled his ankles over a little bit, and then when he went to step, it's just his balance was way off. Just way off. I mean, Balance is one of those things that gets worked on while you're fighting. You know what I mean? A lot. He fights too infrequently. The inactivity has already eroded his skill set. Whether it's the accident, like booze, combination of all of it combined, inactivity, his skill set has eroded. His speed is eroded. He's already not he's a one-dimensional fighter. He's a 1-2, come with the cross, and the hook fighter. And he comes straight forward and long. And by the second round...
Is it me, Spence? Real quick, Jimmy, I'm sorry for cutting you off. Does Spence have like a bunch of tattoos on him?
Yes.
Yeah.
He didn't have that before, right?
No.
Okay.
He got them as trail on.
He's hiding something. He's hiding something, bro. Because his body looked like shit on. I'm sorry to say, his body
what do you mean by that?
Shit.
Wait. What do you mean by that?
Because dudes like that put tattoos like all of a sudden they got a bunch of tattoos on them, right? I know a lot of guys like that did that in their early, late 20s, early 30s, and it's usually these guys that are like fucking drugging it up. I mean, you didn't do that when you were younger. How come you're doing that shit now? And his body looked like shit. He looked horrible, bro. Like when he was coming into that ring, he looked like when somebody's like, oh shit, I gotta fight this dude. That's the fucking face he had.
Well,
like I gotta fight this guy. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it too much.
Yeah, look, I'll say this, man, and I didn't want to.
He looked scared of me. I'm just saying, he looked scared.
I didn't want to put this out there, man, because we already, the whole Dr. 805 thing set off a lot of discussion. I don't know if we want to do that again, but I got another exclusive for the people out there. Oh, yes, I do. I conducted a call with one of my contacts, and he's actually got a recording of Errol Spence talking. I think it was yesterday, or he was in a phone conversation with somebody, and this is how he sounds, man. This is an BDA exclusive.
Oh, buit ligar da jag lumoge.
I mean, he doesn't sound. He sounds a little puncher, if you ask me, man. No, but listen. All kidding aside. Here's the big question. You guys are saying, well, Errol Spence is shot. Should he fight? Blah blah blah. I think that the realistic question is he gonna fight again? And I'll tell you my answer straight off the bat. I think he will, because guys like him, they don't take no for an answer. They get to where they are in life and in boxing because they didn't hear what people were telling. They never stopped to consider, oh yeah, this person told me I was never going to make it in boxing. Shit, I should do something else. They're used to fighting. They're used to fighting conventions and predictions. So when somebody tells them, hey, you should retire, their first instinct is usually, fuck that. No one's going to tell me what to do. I still got it. It was just an off night, blah, blah, blah. I think he will be back. Well, what do you guys think?
I don't personally think he comes back. I don't see why. With all that money, he's talked about retiring before the fight. He said, remember when he's like, I'm thinking about retiring. I'm already achieved everything I wanted. Because really, where's he going to go? Up to 154? It's not going to get much better for him up there. Fedora would probably sleep him at this point. You know what I mean? He's sharp. He's sharp-worn as hell. And but would he come back? Yeah, probably. Who knows, right? The money would have to be there and whatnot. I don't personally need to see him come back. I think look at that dude Haymanites. I don't know why he hasn't posted it. Maybe he has since I've been on the phone, but he put this crazy thing together. And again, I don't know why he never posts half the shit, but it's basically the making of Errol Spence. It's going to be a long thread, he said. And it's crazy how it shows, like he pointed things out. Started with Bundu. That's the thing that catapulted him. Back in 2016,
Bundu was
right?
40 years old.
Yes, but it was the highest rated television boxing show in 15 years. It was like 6.2 million people were on the Nielsen ratings. But here's the thing. NBC Sports was playing the Olympics men's basketball team gold medal round. The gold medal game, right? And so what it did, it just segued into the fight. What happens when people are at parties or whatnot, like basketball people in the Olympics? In the Summer Olympics, until they stopped it, the men's basketball, game was the biggest. A lot of people around the country had that game on. So what happens? They just have the television on. They don't change the channel after that game is over. So it segued instantly into the fucking Spence Bundu fight. So right there, that like, wow, 6 million people. So it was all of a sudden, I don't like to use the word, but it is kind of artificial. It artificially propped him up and like, wow, who's this kid Spence? Like, he's so popular. 6 million people tuned in. That was a lot of people hopped on that. Then he caught Brook, right? Well, I think Campos was in between, who was just stretched out, junior welterweight. He, had no business being up there and got starched out in the first round. But then he caught Brook coming down from 160 to 147 with a already broken eye socket. Yes, he did well. And then but going over to Britain and doing that. So it was that, right? So it was kind of he was caught a little lightning in the bottle, but then he got shelved after that for 11 months. But that's where kind of the Spence lore started. It was started because he was such a big name and so popular because of 6 million people tuned in, not looking at the nuances of most of that was probably people leaving their television on, obviously, and it got counted.
Well, I'll say
counted
this, man.
In the beginning, the end, in the middle, or you know what I mean? That's how Nielsen counts it.
I'll say this in terms of the hype from the boxing perspective, it was the Bondu and Algieri fights because Keith-Thurman, who at the time was the best welterweight, well, it was him or Pacquiao. That was the debate, but he'd beaten Danny Garcia, he'd beat Sean Porter, so he was the number one guy, and he couldn't stop Bondu. Errol Spence comes along and he stops Bondu in emphatic fashion. Then he takes out Chris Algieri, who Pacquiao couldn't take out despite all the knockdowns that he scored. That's what I remember. That's what really got the ball rolling in terms of the hype of him of his worth as a fighter and potential pound for pound entrant. And then of course you start looking at it in hindsight and you go, well, what happened? Like Jimmy was saying, he fights Kell Brook in 2017. He didn't fight the rest of that year, by the way. Talk about wasting momentum. Then in 2018, another wasted year. He takes on Lamont Peterson, a 140-pounder, and he takes on Ocampo, who nobody really knew at the time, but he did end up proving that he was a good contender. Then in 2019, they finally step it up, but not before he takes on little Mikey Garcia. He fails to stop Mikey Garcia's fat ass. Then he takes on Sean Porter. Okay, no complaints there. Then he has the accident. It's all his fault, by the way. Stays shelved for most of 2020, comes back against Danny Garcia. Okay, props to him for taking that type of fight as his comeback fight. Then no fight 2021, one fight 2022, 16-month layoff, and then the ass whooping from Terence Crawford. I mean, so what was all the hype over? It was really like Jimmy said, the first...
You laid it down. You laid down the map, the roadmap to his destruction.
Well, that's what I do. Recognize that's what I do. I lay it down, and I tell you what else. If motherfuckers come at me in real life, I let them out cold too. Leave them snoring. You know that knockout snoring they do.
Set an alarm clock.
Calm down, BDA.
well,
BDA looks at him and says they run their mouth. BDA says, "What time are you gonna be at work tomorrow?" And he breaks out a fucking alarm clock. He sets it, puts it on the ground. All right, let's do this. Puts him to sleep. And then walks away.
I think you guys. Let me just say this, Jimmy. Let me just say this, because I don't think you guys are taking me seriously, by the way. But shout out to Mr. Mirage. That's our Mirage, by the way. Thank you for your contribution, Mirage. And he says, if Manny Pacquiao versus Margarito could happen, so can this. Talking about Canelo versus Crawford. Manny was outweighed by 20 pounds on fight night. I mean, yeah, why not, man? I mean, listen, I'm telling you, if the money's right, put the notion of money, dangle money in front of these people, and they will do it. Real quick, other super chat here. Shout out to Uriah Smith for his contribution to the super chat. He says, Anthony Joshua and Ryan Garcia are going to be switching trainers again. I'm telling you. Listen, Joshua and Garcia are the type of superstars. Their names are a brand. And if they take a loss or if the brand takes a hit for whatever reason, they got to rebrand. And one of the ways to do that in boxing is get yourself a new trainer. It's like a reset button.
Changing their trainers left and right like that, it goes to show you they got no fucking conviction. Exactly. But go ahead.
Shout out to Niners Bar. Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and if you think about it, biggest fight in boxing history, you really think about it, he's got 22 professional fights. That's it. That's all Spence had. So, you know what I mean? He was thrust onto the scene on his 12th fight. Like, so there was very little out there on him. But then if you even dissect his resume even sooner, even closer, right? Danny Garcia is garbage.
Jimmy, 29 fights. Yeah, 29 fights.
29 fights. Okay, 29 fights.
Yeah.
But it's kind of mirage. It's all fucking smoke and mirrors. Danny Garcia was never a quality welterweight. Never. He had never won anything at welterweight. His
think about what
and only good win.
Think about what you just said there. Danny Garcia was not really a good welterweight, which I kind of agree with, a little disagree with, but this is what I would say. If you go look at that fight, there was opportunities for Danny Garcia to wreck this dude's world. Okay? He bent him over with a couple of body shots. He hit him with a couple of counter lead lefts that left him stunned. It's just that Danny Garcia is so passive or so committed to the fucking counter punch that he won't follow up, whatever it was. So just keep that in mind. And then you go look at what Crawford does. And we talked about this. We talked about he better be on his P's and Q's against Terrence Crawford, because that's a guy that as soon as he gets you hurt, he jumps on you. And he's double-fisted. There's an advantage when you have power, just about the same amount of power in both hands. Mm-hmm. You can let them both go at any time, and it's going to have the same type of effect. So it makes perfect sense. If Danny Garcia when I see that fight, Danny Garcia had a lot of opportunities to hurt Spence more than he did, and wasn't able to do it. So it makes perfect sense after the fight what happened to him against Terrence Crawford.
Hey, shout out to because I wasn't done reading a super chat.
Yeah, you were about to say something exactly.
Yeah, shout out to Niners Bar None for his contribution with the super chat. He says Ryan Garcia made more money than Tank in their fight. Really, I didn't know that. I thought that was like 50-50 or something. Or that actually I didn't know how much they made, but interesting. I didn't know that. Niners. Shout out to you, and shout out to Action Jackson, aka Jonathan Morrison, for his contribution to super chat. Didn't leave a message, but shout out to you, and shout out to everybody that's donated so far. You guys really keep us going. All right. Sorry, who was going to say something?
I was just going to finish up what I was saying. No, and for instance, like you want to compare resumes, right? They always said Crawford did nothing. I totally believe Kavaluskas destroys Danny Garcia, knocks him out, or at least beats him. I believe that wholeheartedly. If they would have fought a couple of years back, I believe that. He just got the power to do that. And Porter, yes. Porter's a decent, never turn anything down. You gotta love him. Great guy, right? Very limited skills. The dude went life and death with Granados. Remember that. Porter went life and death with him. Some people thought he even lost that fight. That's how close that fight was. What?
Granados, you mean with Ugas? Yeah, with Ugas, right? You said?
Well, no, Porter.
Porter never fought Granados. I think
Porter fought.
No, yeah, Granados. Yeah, sorry. I'm confusing with Ramos. Jesus. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, Granados. So, yeah, and he went life and death with him. I mean, that fight literally went down to the scorecards. And I forget, but I remember a lot of people, I remember what I thought, but I know a lot of people did talk about saying that was that close. So you say, okay, well, Granados, is he a fucking world-class welterweight? And if you go life and death with that dude, Danny Garcia, again, that was probably his best win, right? I think Danny knocked him out. He was the one who stopped him. But just look at dude has not had a significant victory since 2013 against Matisse at 140, where he left his power. He has never shown that power at 147 at all. If you want to talk about, folding that kid there, Vargas or whatever his name is, or can't remember his name, that white kid was ridiculous from Pittsburgh. But his resume, so you take away, I don't give him any credit for Danny Garcia. Okay. You consider him a mid-level, almost gatekeeper welterweight. Porter, mid to bottom level fucking welterweight. Mickey Garcia, the guy's a career super featherweight. That's 126 pounds. That's where the vast majority, like 90% of that dude's fights taking place at 126. And you couldn't stop him, never even heard him. So then that made me question, like, how powerful is this kid that you didn't even get Garcia wrong? You didn't even ring his bell. And again, the way he took the punches against Ugas, I didn't like. So all those things together, like I just kept looking back at his resume. But again, if you looked at every victory, first it was the numbers from the Olympics, then it was the way he went in to beat, Kell Brook, who was the world champion. He went into England, took his belt, but the dude came down 2 weight classes, which historically never works out well for anybody. coming down a weight. Never mind 2 weight classes. That's a lot of muscle to shed. So, and plus, I already think he had kind of was dealing with brittle bones, both eye sockets broken like that. But regardless, none of his victories, and Chris Algiers, I mean, yes, he stopped him when Pacquiao didn't, but that dude's been fucking, like they say, down more times than a fucking $20 prostitute. So, I don't know, man. I'm just being honest. It's just his fucking resume never that impressed me that much. It just never did.
Even in that situation, it's a little bit misleading because if you look at what Spence did with Algieri versus what Pacquiao did, basically Spence dropped him like, what was it, twice, and they stopped the fight. Pacquiao dropped this dude like 7 times or some shit. They never stopped the fight. They never considered thinking about.
6.
And when he was dropping him, he was dropping hard. It wasn't like, oh, he slipped. No, it was like boom, punch, legs in the air, boom, on the floor, and then he stopped.
Twice he rolled over. Twice he did reverse somersaults, like he rolled over on his back and shit like that. Yeah, very odd. I gotta say too, man, Crawford fighting with sneakers on is so strange. It's a thing now. A lot of guys are doing it. They're fighting with like pretty much sneakers, not boxing shoes. It's just so strange. I don't know if they're doing it for the height. I think because of the way Crawford fights, he has kind of a like. I really was watching his feet. He has kind of a weird stance with his legs. His stance is normal. It's about shoulder width, but it's almost leaning forward a little. His stance is kind of always up over the tops of his toes, what gives him the ability to put a snap on his punches. And I think the heels on the sneakers helps that a little. Because when you have boxing shoes, it's just one flat piece of rubber, right? There's no cushion, there's nothing. I know that everybody who's tried them on or fought knows what I'm talking about. In fact, back when I fought, you couldn't even wear sneakers. They wouldn't allow them in the ring. You couldn't wear them back then. You had to have boxing shoes on. So maybe they changed that rules, or maybe it was never that way in the pros.
I mean, really. I mean, sometimes it depends. I guess some people prefer the boxing shoes because they're a little bit more, they don't have that thick sole and they feel like they're more mobile. I've noticed that some sneakers actually have more grip on the sole. But ultimately for me, I'm just speaking for me, whether I got shoes or I'm barefoot, whatever, motherfuckers are going down. That's just as simple as it is. But I will say this, the phone lines are open. So if anybody feels, actually, we already got some calls here. All right, hold on a second. We got a couple calls. Listen, the question of the day, Crawford Canelo, how likely is it? How much would you like to see it? Or how interested would you be in seeing it? And do you think that once these guys catch a whiff of the money that's out there, do you think they change their minds and actually make the fight happen? Let's go to the phone lines right off the bat here, and let's go to 513. Hold on a second. 513. Yes, indeed. Good old 513. 513, you're in the air. What's on your mind?
BDA, this mastermind, man, calling for Cincinnati, man. I've been checking y'all out today, man. Y'all been talking that good. Y'all been talking that good.
Well, the good's what we go for, man. That's our motto. What's up, mastermind?
At all times.
But let me check y'all, because y'all totally wrong. This is what destroys boxing. I didn't want Mikey to jump up to fight Earl. That was stupid. I didn't want Rigondeaux to jump up to fight Lomachenko. That was stupid. It was stupid. You 39-0, and you 11 fights away from getting 50-0. Let's just throw it away against a bigger guy. It's not that Earl was more skilled than him. It's not a fair fight. Kell Brook jumping up to Triple G. Come on, man. You 36-0, 37-0. You're throwing away these O's, man. And Crawford is smarter than that. You know what I mean? He's smarter than that. You leaving too much food on the table. The best option for Crawford is to fight Tim Tszyu, and if by some miracle he could beat Canelo, Charlo could beat Canelo, then they could fight for the undisputed Crawford and Charlo. But yeah, you can't. He can't win. That's an unwinnable fight. Now, if you want him to lose, just say that. But there's no way you're gonna jump up 3 weight classes and beat the face of boxing. That's ridiculous.
Well,
that's like,
mastermind.
I mean, do you think Canelo could beat Usyk?
Well, mastermind. Here's the thing, though. I'm not advocating for him to go up necessarily. I'm saying the money. Let's say. Okay, let me ask you this: are you a tit guy? A nice firm pair of tits, right? You're into that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's say somebody tells you.
I like them juicy ass booties, though. I like the booties.
Well,
okay.
let's go. Let's take with tits because it's a family show.
I'm with Master P.
Hold on. Let's go. Let's stay with tits because it's a family show. Let's say somebody offers you a nice firm pair of voluptuous and pendulous breasts. And then your other option is saggy, tired tits. Which one are you gonna go for? You don't even have to answer. We already know which one. So now, what happens if with Crawford, he's shopping around for an opponent, and he sees $5 million payday here, $10 million payday there. Whoop! All of a sudden, somebody offers him $50 million to fight Canelo. Which one do you think he's gonna take?
Prize fighter.
I don't think he'll fight him at 168. I don't think he gonna. I don't think it's enough money out there for him. He not gonna just. That's just selling away your own. I don't think he got too much integrity for that.
Well, listen. I would rather
and that's
see.
That's exactly what Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia went for the tits. Remember?
I agree with you. I agree with you. I don't like the weight jumping, the drastic weight jumping, but unfortunately, that's the reality he's in right now. It's if he wants to make boku money, there's not that many options. But let me ask you this, though. Let me ask you this before we move on. If you could be the boxing's king and you could decide his next move, his next fight, which fighter would you rather see him in there against?
Crawford?
Yes.
Yes, I would like him to fight Tim Tszyu out of Australia. He's a great fighter in my opinion. He's about to be declared champion. And I think going up to 154, challenging for that WBO belt is a great fight. I think that's the best option. And it's a winnable fight. You know, it's a tough fight, but winnable. But I just don't think Canelo, I don't think you can beat him. You can't win, Rock. I just don't think. But Tim Tszyu, who's in it, Charlo. But only if Charlo beats Canelo.
There you go.
Because he's going to be damaged goods. He better not get knocked out against Canelo.
It's a sensible take that you're coming up with. It's a true boxing fan's take, but unfortunately, if they put that money in front of him, like I said, I alluded to being a pair of tits, he might just grab onto those pair of tits and go to heaven. I think that's what he's aiming for. So we'll see what happens there, Mastermind.
Now I wanted to ask you this.
Sure.
I just wanted to ask you this. Do you want Inoue to fight Tank Davis, or do you think that's an unfair fight?
I think that's unfair because he's actually jumped more weight classes than Crawford has.
Exactly.
Well, there you go.
It's too much. I mean, it just, and you know. Hey man, keep a great show going, man. I appreciate you having me on, brother. But yeah, I like Inoue. I don't like undefeated guys that don't look like they can be beat, jumping up, getting beat, and then they start getting beat a lot when they come back down too, because they tasted defeat. I think these guys can't be beaten at their own weight class, so people force them in the fight where they can't win. Like Kell Brook, I think Kell Brook could have been a great champion at welterweight if he never jumped up like that.
Well, there you go. All right, well, listen, Mastermind,
Yes,
thank you for your
sir.
call. Call back next
Thank
time,
you,
right?
brother.
Take it easy out there.
It's the nature of the beast when it comes to fighting, man.
There you go.
You can beat up everybody on one block. You want to go to the next block and see if you could beat them up too.
Whoa. Yeah, well, that's probably how you were doing it back in the day, but yeah.
Well, I don't want to brag,
Hey, by the way, this is what they're going to be telling. This is what they're going to be telling Crawford in the next couple of weeks.
Take the fucking money. Take the fucking money. Take the fucking money.
It's about the money, man. They offered him 50 mil, 55, maybe more, man, depending on the fucking pay-per-view upside. You're telling me he doesn't take that?
He'll take 20 million. 20 million, he moves up in weight. Why not? He told Mike Tyson, I'm in it for the money. That's what he said.
There you go.
Why wouldn't he take it? I don't understand why he wouldn't take it.
Maybe like Mastermind said, maybe he's not those type of guys. Maybe he really doesn't want to lose that O and just throw it away, even for the money. So, I don't know. We'll see.
When you say, yeah, maybe.
All right, let's go to another phone call here. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out, all right? Just help us out. You got something against helping us out? Come on now. Let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 386. 386, you're on the air. 386, what's on your mind?
Yo, it's about time. Who's Rick I was talking shit to? Like, come on, Rick. But, I got it wrong, guys. I thought Spence would, I thought that was a great video you did, Mr. Boxing. Dude, with the neurological damage, that was excellent. You really, BDA, let me tell you from my heart, you look into things people wouldn't normally see. I just thought Spence was a retard. I didn't think of that. But he might have had some damage from the car accident. But, guys, what do you think about I mean, this is probably beating a dead horse. But what do you think about Crawford? You think he's that guy?
Well, first of all, let me say this though. Well, shout out to Dr. 805 because he's the one that brought it up that day. But also shout out to Chief and shout out to Chief and Jimmy because part of the reason why they were they really presented the great argument that I followed as well of picking Crawford was because he wasn't reacting well to the punches against Ugas and Garcia. So these guys were seeing the effects too of whatever it is that
I
was
didn't see that.
Spence. Well, listen. Hey, you live and learn. That's all I can say. But what was your question to the panel? Sorry, I didn't hear it. I forgot it already.
Well, no, I watched the fight with Lamont Peterson, and I think that was before the car accident with Spence. And dude, he was looking sharp. Like Spence was like jab to the body, fucking straight right or southpaw, straight left upstairs. Like he was hitting these angles. Like Spence was good before he hung out with who was he with James Prince and all the boys and Flip Ferrari. Dude, Spence was pretty good before that, and he looked so sharp in that Lamont Peterson fight. Then I watched the Crawford fight, and Crawford's just a lengthy guy with good skills that can fight either way. You know how bad Pacquiao would have beat Spence? Like, it would have been over quick. But not to say Pacquiao would have beat Crawford, but Pacquiao would have beat Spence, 100%. That's why they pulled out the fight.
Well, yeah, that was a theory at the time. Remember that? That was a theory at the time when people started speculating, hey, maybe that eye injury, maybe that was a fabrication. And people say, oh, why would you doubt Errol Spence?
Yeah,
now, all of a sudden, yeah, now they're on board with what we were saying for years, that Spence's lifestyle, the car accident and all that was affecting him. But no, back then it was just they were upset that we dared to question that. So it is what it is, Action Jackson. But
yeah,
listen,
and they were upset with you, BD. I remember the Godfather himself, and you were acting all a little bit suspect, because if you watch the last minute of the Spence and Danny Garcia fight, Garcia started picking some angles and piecing Spence up, and I was like, dude, if Manny Pacquiao, dude, he did that to Cotto and Margarito and pretty much every Hall of Famer ever. I was
there you go.
This guy wouldn't have stood a chance against Spence.
There you go. Exactly.
Am I wrong, guys?
The Pacquiao that was beating, I mean, the best version of Pacquiao, I would say, first of all, the best version of Pacquiao, I think, was
Does he beat Crawford, though? Does he beat Bud?
Well, I'll say this, man. Crawford has certainly proved himself to be a fantastic, sensational fighter. Pacquiao was just one in a million. And he could, put it this way, what Gamboa was doing to Crawford made some adjustments, turned southpaw, started timing him. I don't know if he would be able to do that to
Pacquiao. Would it cook him?
Because Pacquiao, in his prime, he didn't stop. Once he got going with those combos of his, it was for all 12 rounds. And I think Crawford...
It was beautiful work. Marquez had good combinations, too.
But I'll say this, though, Action Jackson. Crawford's got some very, very good pivots, underrated pivots. And if you could keep Pacquiao turning, you could make it 12 rounds. You could make it the distance. So maybe he would...
I disagree. Let me say this, PDA. I know I got to go soon, but let me say this. I always thought Bud was kind of like Sweet Pea, but his defense, dude, Pernell Whitaker probably was I really admired that guy. But if you watch him, Pacquiao, and Muhammad Ali, probably my top three. But if you watch, I thought early Bud, when he used to fight Orthodox, was like Sweet Pea. But I was like, dude, maybe his defense isn't as good as Sweet Pea, but he can fight, either or. So if you watch Sweet Pea versus a couple guys like Buddy McGirt twice, it's really Terrence Crawford, but I think Crawford is on a level of his own. I mean, I think he would have beat the Spence to beat Lamont Peterson.
Maybe. Again, it's all speculation, but Pacquiao in his prime, tough, fucking piece of leather to chew for anybody.
If we're saying Pacquiao in his prime versus Crawford, how good is Crawford?
Anybody. Well, listen. I mean, he proved a lot of people that he was indeed good. Well, at least better than Spence. But then again, even the people,
Why
even
did
those
he
of us.
fight Triple G or somebody?
No, okay, come on. Well, that's the question of the day. That's the question of the day. But anyway, listen, Action Jackson, we're gonna move on. We're gonna take other calls. But thank you for your call. All right, take it easy out there, man. Thanks
Can I
again for
call
calling
back?
in.
Can I get on the show? I'm bored, but I'm having a rough night.
Yeah, you can call back, man. Sure. Absolutely.
All right, guys. All right, everybody be safe.
And we'll talk about what ails you. We'll see if we can fix that for you as well. All right, take it easy out there.
I got you back,
Jackson.
Action Jackson.
There you go. Ah, shit. You know what? He hung up, and I accidentally hung up. Whoever I hung up on, I think it's 386. Sorry about the call back. All right, don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. Let's go to the phone call here. Let's go to 213. 213. 213, you're on the air. 213, what's on your mind?
Hey, Mr. BDA. Hey, panel. It's Campos. Wanted to call back and say I got Fulton versus Inoue wrong. I had Fulton winning, but I did get Crawford versus Spence correct. Now, Inoue beat a better opponent in Fulton than Crawford did in Spence because at least Fulton showed up to fight.
You're going to set up a bit of a firestorm right there, Campos, with that take, let me tell you.
Yeah, and then here's another thing. Canelo, if you remember 2 years ago, Canelo did entertain fighting Spence at 160. He did entertain it, and he did say for that fight he would do it. Remember, the LDBC was complaining that Canelo would go down to 160 to fight Spence, but he wouldn't fight Jermell. I'm sorry, he wouldn't fight Jermall. Now, I don't like the fight. I don't like Canelo versus Jermell. I don't like those fights. Marquez, Mayweather, Garcia, Spence, or Mantequilla Napoles and Carlos Monzon. I don't like those fights. But if Canelo entertained Spence at 160, why doesn't he entertain Crawford at 160?
That's an excellent point.
All right, guys, that's my call, guys. Thank you very much. I'll be calling back again.
Well, thank you, Campos. Thank you for your call, man. Take it easy out there. All right, hey, yeah, interesting point there from Campos.
Hit the like button, guys.
Absolutely.
Hit the like button, guys. Bye.
Hit it twice. All right, shout out to you, Campos. Yeah, you need to hang up, otherwise I might hang up on somebody else. So shout out to Campos. Let's hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Now, let's go to the phone call here. Let's go to 973. 973, you're on the air. 973, what's on your mind?
Hey, BDA, how's it going?
Doing fantastic. How about yourself there?
I'm okay. So, I think, Bud, I think he knows how good he is, but I think that he doesn't, one of the previous callers has said that he's smarter than that. He's smarter than throwing his O away like, a lot of these other guys have done, which it kind of makes sense. But after what I saw Saturday and how much of a level above he was of this other guy, Spence, who was touted as, this great fighter and whatnot, there was one knockdown. I think it was the second knockdown where Spence rushed him and Bud bounced off the ropes, and then he caught him with the right uppercut, and then Spence's his shot landed, but then he caught him with another right hook. I don't know, but to me, that was hard to see in real time. That first uppercut, it was so fast that in order to fully understand what happened, you had to watch in slow-mo. Yo, this guy's a killer, man. And if we compare attributes, okay, Canelo's 5'8", Bud is 5'8". Canelo's got a 70.5 reach. Bud has got a 74 reach, okay? And honestly, I think most of the attributes between these two guys, Bud's got, got a higher level, right? Except for, I would say, power, obviously, right? Canelo's got the power, and then maybe chin, I would say, because Canelo's got a fucking, he's got a column for a neck. It's like, it's hard to even stays that guy. I mean, I think it was Cotto who actually got him a little wobbly, but that's about it.
There you go. Yeah, that's
I mean, if it's done as a catch weight, go ahead.
I'm just saying, yeah, you're right, man. If it's done well, they can sell it, man. That's what we're trying to tell people here. Now, again, do I necessarily want to see that fight? I don't know. I don't think so. It would create a lot of drama. But I'm telling you, I'm putting my promoter's cap on, and I'm seeing all the ways in which this fight could get made. And I'm telling you, it could be sold to the people. It could be sold. It could be sold. Anyway, we got to move on here. But last thoughts, sir, caller.
Okay, thanks, bud.
I said last thoughts. Anything else you want to say?
Okay, no, so my last thoughts are, I mean, 168, if it's done at 168, it's probably a little bit too much for Bud. You know, that's going up like three or four weight classes, right? But I think it was Boom Boom Mancini who said the difference between 154 and 168 is like, or no, 147 and 154 is 2 glasses of water or something like that. I mean, yeah, it would have to be done at a catch weight. That's the only way it could be done. He should go get the belts at 154. He should be undisputed at 154. And if the money's there, let's do a Canelo fight at catch weight. He needs to get more confidence. I think he can get it. That's the one thing that Bud lacks. He needs to know that he could be the greatest fighter of all time. You know, age is coming along, but I think he showed that 35-36, you know, 35-36 is like the new 28 these days. I mean, I think the guy's capable of greatness. Do it at 165, 160, and I think it'll get done. I got Bud all the way. Thanks. Peace.
All right. Thank you for your call there, 973. Excellent point there, too. Yeah, excellent point. Age is nothing but a number. That's what I keep trying to tell some of these college girls. Come on. Age is just a number, baby. Let's go. Let's get another phone call here. Hey,
yeah, but if they're 19, you're 60.
Well, I mean, listen, a little rope and some duct tape puts that all out of the way. But listen, shout out to everybody who's donated so far, everybody that's called in. Don't forget to hit the like. Really helps us out. Let's get to another phone call.
You know what they say about an old cat? Old cat love tender mice.
I've never heard that one before. That's a good one. I'm going to steal that one. All right, let's go to another phone call here. We got 336. 336, you're on the air. 336, what's on your mind?
Yo, before I get to the topic, because it is interesting, I don't know if Bucho saw on the open line server. It's the Fire Fist. I sent him a thing saying if he'd fuck this tranny goon, this troon, and I don't know, he didn't respond. So, yeah, I would fuck that demon if I got to, like, fuck Mia Goth or Shakira for, like, you know, a month straight. You know, if they were my sex slaves, I would do that. And, you know, the guy who just called in, like, I'm tired of these white cucks, you know, cucking for Cripford and shit like that. Like, I think
thing is always rather grim.
Accomplished fighter in the sport. And if you compare, you know, Canelo's or even Loma's resume to Cripford, it's not even close. So these people are like, oh, he's gonna be the best ever. I just start gagging on the BBC, and it's not even recognized as BBC. It's so fucking cringe.
All right, well, I know what you want.
Okay. What Crawford did.
Hold on. I know, first of all, I'm still shell shocked about what you were saying about a tranny. Please, I've told you numerous times. Please do not, whether it's on the open lines, whether it's in the Second Renaissance, whether it's in the main. Don't be posting dick pics. Don't be posting a tranny pics.
No, I
whatever.
didn't. It was a TikTok. It was just it was a troon. Apparently, that thing has an OnlyFans. It was just a TikTok link.
I don't know what a troon is, and I don't want to find out. Please don't put that in there. Now, you're saying... Hold on a second. But it does bring up a good point. You were talking about how you would bang a tranny. Is that what you said?
Yeah, if I got to like have any girl I wanted for like a month straight to be my sex slave, I would go down on a semen demon.
Let me say something about you, right? Let me say
Yeah.
something about that. That just proves what we're talking about here about the potential Crawford versus Canelo fight. That if they offer Crawford enough money to fight Canelo Alvarez at a higher weight than he's ever thought he could fight at, we here think that he would probably take it. What do you think?
Yeah, he'd get buck breaked by the white Mexican. He'd get buck breaked for that kind of money. For $30 million, yeah, Crawford would get buck broken for sure. That's my opinion on that. I think Crawford is a really good fighter, and from the eye test, he's elite. But, you know, he's just never fought anyone with a fucking pulse. I mean, Spence was so fucking shot. You know, he just looked like garbage. I'm not saying Spence at his best would have beat Crawford. I still think Crawford, at least from what he's shown a week ago, would have won. But, that dude looked fucking terrible. It's like, how much credit are we going to give him? Was that win better than when Manny beat Cotto? No. Was it better when Cotto beat Shane Mosley? No. It wasn't, man. It really, when Oscar De La Hoya beat Pernell Whitaker, it wasn't. That's my opinion on that. Spence was always overrated, was never a pound-for-pound fighter. And I don't know, Scott. I can't find it out. I haven't shaved in like 2 weeks. I've been trying.
Wait a minute. There's some guy in the background asking you, where is the shaver? You're talking about banging trannies. What are you up to, man? What are you up to? I don't even want to know, man.
Dude, it's just, so my mom's cucked, so she's taking care of his daughter a little bit right now. And he just got back from work. He's trying to shave. And I was like,
I like how honest this kid is, right? Like he's like super honest. He's gonna tell you everything.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's going on there in the background.
I haven't shaved in like weeks. But my thing on that with Crawford is, Crawford's he walks around in the 170s. Canelo walks around no bigger than 180. There was a side-by-side comparison of Canelo and Devin Haney, like whenever like Devin Haney and both of them were outside of camp. And they look damn near the same size. You know what I mean? You got all these Crips like Haney or, Little Deb, as I like to call him, Shakira, Cripford, Earl. They just cut 20, 25 pounds to make weight. Jermel, they cut 20, 25 pounds, or they rehydrate 20 pounds or more. And then you got guys like Canelo and Loma who end up losing not close, but they end up getting UD'd and not completely destroyed against fighters way bigger than them. And I'm not talking about the Haney fight, I'm talking about the T.O. fight for Loma. And they say, exposed. Oh my God, exposed. And you see
all right, well, listen,
that Crip, Errol Spence gets destroyed. So they're in and around the same weight. They're in and around the same size. The fight can happen. Mirage said it best. The size difference between Manny and Margarito is way bigger than Canelo and Cripford. So we need to see that fight.
All right.
And
well, listen, you go find. Your point is taken. You got to go find that shaver, and we'll talk about that fight as that. Because listen, again, that's always going to be. There's always going to be an asterisk.
True for like the hottest girl for a month straight, 2 months straight. She's your sex slave. Get out of here. You would fucking tranny. All right, I'm out, Mel Model.
All right, we cool.
Yeah, that's sorry. Shout out to him for his call there, but this tranny thing. I don't know. First of all, I've heard other boxing shows. Never on any other boxing show the people call in or jump on the panel and ask the host whether they'd bang a tranny if they could get some sort of reward for it. I mean, this is bizarre. What type of energy are we projecting here that people want to ask us a question? You know what? Don't answer that question.
BDA. Yeah. Tranny's the new Beyonce. I'm just trying to tell you, man.
I mean, it's
it is what it is, man. I mean, the people talk about it now. They're everywhere.
Yeah. I don't even want to get into it, but it is what it is. Now, if I may take an opportunity here to tell people that this type of shenanigans that you're trying to bestow upon us, or that you're trying to bring up on a nice, wholesome show like this one, shall not work, because most of us, or at least myself, I can speak for myself, are on the true path of the Crimson Cross.
You can speak for me.
For me too. I think you're on it too. I think I saw you there. But yeah, we're on the true path of the Crimson Cross. Once you're on it, you cannot be stopped because you're pure, you're elegant, and of course, you are smart and strong. You are an amalgamation of all those qualities. So, yeah, try to bring up those trannies here. It ain't going to work. That's all I'm saying.
Get off my knees. I was done praying. I'm done praying.
Right. Now, I didn't mean to say elegant, but I was just riffing through words here, and that's the one that came up. That sounds a little gay. All right. Shout out to Niners Bar None for his contribution to Super Chat. He says Lopez beats CA. Who the fuck is CA? Oh, Lopez beats CA. Who's CA?
C.
If Lopez beat 6 feet, 168-pound Taylor, easy money. Lopez beats CA. My mind's drawing a blank. Maybe I'm still shell shocked from that tranny call, but
Canelo Alvarez, BD.
Oh, okay. Because I was looking. Whose first name is C? Carlos.
Oh yeah.
All right. Shout out to Gonzalo and shout out to
because his real name is Saul.
That's right.
Saul.
That's right. All right. Well, shout out to Niners for his contribution there with the super chat. Let's go to another phone call here. Hopefully, it's a more wholesome call. 416. You're on the air. 416. What's on your mind?
Yo, BDA. What's up, Bucho? I don't know if I know recognizes there Jimmy Gonzalo.
I'm here.
This fantasy fight in regards to Canelo versus Crawford. I don't think it'll ever fucking happen, but I think Canelo's on the downturn. Bud has these secret ingredients, like the KFC recipe, to fucking mess with fucking Canelo. If this fantasy fucking fight ever occurs. But other than that, I have a question for the entire panel. Like,
is that right?
I've always felt that Spence's fucking resume has always been a little bit guarded, bolstered, and manicured. His opponents have always been manicured to his fucking
manicured
kind of, elevation in the ranks. Do promotional companies have any financial benefit in regards to keeping a number of their rostered fighters or stable of fighters to hold X amount of belts? And is there any financial benefit to that of Al Heyman and the PBC for years on end, holding on to having their dodging and ducking other fighters such as Terrence Crawford, who I felt could have definitely annihilated Spence even 4 or 5 years ago in even a more devastating fashion. Is there any financial benefit for...
Yeah, let me tell you right off the bat, the way you framed that question, yes. Because some people say, well, wait a minute, how come the PBC is keeping some guys in the shelter and all that? Because Heyman was getting money regardless by the networks. He was getting paid because his fighters, he was taking a cut from their fighters. So he didn't care whether we were getting, boxing fans were getting the big fights or the fights we wanted to see. For him, as long as certain fights were made, he was happy with that. And that's why with Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, hey, he got a cut off that big payday. He's getting a cut off Charlo when he fights Canelo. So, but ultimately, he doesn't care. And Jimmy's been saying it too for a while now, ever since he dug up that story about Al Heyman's brother, who ended up getting jibbed by the system, by the boxing system, that is. His brother was a professional boxer. And apparently the legend goes that Al Heyman has detested boxing since then. And he's got some sort of plan where he just wants to benefit off of it, regardless of whether he does well or not. So absolutely,
PDA, some people speculated. I think it's a false rumor, but there's some people that think that Al Heyman is really Bob Heyman, and that's the Bobby Heyman. Yeah.
I don't know.
People think that it's actually him.
By the way, you know what somebody told me on the Discord? Sorry, caller, I don't know if you heard this too, but somebody told me, these Spence fans are coming up with all sorts of excuses, and in fact, they've latched on to the Dr. 805 thing, but apparently they're starting to say now that Crawford was a Satanist, some sort of devil worshiper, and that's why he won. I asked the person to send me some proof for that, and he hasn't done so yet. So, caller, have you heard anything about that? Is Crawford a Satanist? Is he in bed with Lucifer?
I don't know about Satanist.
No, I mean, I go to my daily, monthly Satan group talks, and
wait a minute.
his name never comes up. But
wait, there you go.
But
you're in a position to know. You're in a position to know. So.
Realistically, recognize Bob Heyman. I don't know. Maybe Bob's pulling strings, but no, I think Heyman. Like, my question to you guys is, like, there had to be some type of financial benefit because, like, for having these, with Jamal Charlo, Jermel, the Charlo brothers, fucking Spence for years on end. There's something that I think Spence even knew back then, that if he took this, that Crawford will run through him, will dust him up, right? So,
well, there was always definitely
there has to be some
fear. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Recognize that with you.
No, I think there was always a fear. There was always a fear that his fighters could get beaten by guys that don't require that much money. And I think that at the time when they were looking at the Bud fight, they were trying to maximize the fight. I'm pretty sure there was some confidence that Errol Spence could beat him, but I think that after after a while, like after you know your fighter, whether you're promoting him or you're training him, you would know him better than most people. And I think that there was always this fear that, man, if we put him in there with Crawford and he's not up to par 100%, he can get blown the fuck out. And that's exactly what happened. He wasn't at 100%. And he didn't just lose; he got blown out. Now, this is, you can lose a fight and be proud of yourself, but when you get beat the shit out of like that, it's almost hard to be proud of yourself about anything.
All right, listen, caller, we're gonna have to move on here to another phone
See,
call.
yeah, hold up, but just see as
Hold
like
up.
in regards to like the way that Terrence Crawford, I feel, is one of those boxers, such as definitely Inoue, who have natural, like, born talent. Like they work hard like racehorses to get to their antithesis of their fucking skill set. But in regards to natural born talent, there's something about that that's instinctual, right? And the other boxers don't have that. They have to beat themselves silly to even attain like a fraction of that self talent, that born talent.
That's absolutely correct, man.
Well,
a lot of
that's a double-edged sword too. Because when you're born with a lot of talent, sometimes you don't want to put in the work. You become lazy. So I commend the guys that are less gifted but work real hard to get it, because now they value it. And the guys that don't got it like that, they tend to like not care.
That's a good point. Listen, when you're talented, and I've had that curse myself. You're ultra talented. You don't know where to start. You don't know where to end, because it's just the talent just oozes out of it. It overflows. But listen, caller, we gotta move on, man. But excellent points, and call back next time, right, man? Take it easy out there.
Hold up, Mr. BDA.
All right, man.
All right, take it easy.
Peace out.
All right, Jimmy's a little bit of a callback there with the hold up. Nobody tells Mr. BDA to hold up. All right,
hey, BDA, one last thing. You can even say that the most talented guys are the ones that never made it, and the guys that were less are kind of like the winners.
Well, that depends. I mean, I've said it before. In order to make it to the top 10 pound for pound, or just be cream of the crop in any generation, you need some sort of physical talent. You need to be above average in speed, power. You can have the best technique in the world, but if you don't have any outstanding physical attributes, the guys with less skill but with those physical attributes might run you over. That's just a fact of boxing. Let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 419. 419, you're on the air. 419, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, BDA?
Oh, is this T-Tone?
Yeah, it's T-Tone, man.
T-Tone. What's up, T-Tone?
Just giving my opinion on what you guys are talking about. Hey, what's up, man? Hey, just talking about, because I didn't get to call in on the pound for pound because you quit taking phone calls, so this is going to run right into it, for the real pound for pound. And then talking about Bud Crawford. Hey, there's only one fighter who moved up 35 pounds from when they started as a professional, in this era that's fighting champions, and that's Canelo.
Oh.
So when people look at Canelo, they look at him like he's a 168, a 175 pounder. Man, Canelo's the size of Barry Sanders, man. He's 5'8". Canelo started out at 140. Canelo could stay at 160. But no, man, Canelo's challenging stuff, man. So
Canelo's overrated.
If you want to look at it as a fight, what's that?
I'm messing with
what's that recognized?
I'm messing with you.
He's messing with you. He's messing with you. He's saying that Canelo's overrated. Yeah, he's.
All right,
keep going.
Hey, don't interrupt. Recognize. You can talk when I'm done. All right. So Bud, he started out at 130. So if he goes up 35 pounds like Canelo, 165, man, I think that would be a fair fight. Because Bud is bigger than Canelo. Like I said, people look at Canelo and go, "Oh man, he's too." Hey, remember when Canelo fought Lara? They said, "Oh, he's too small to go fight Triple G. He won't go to 160 to fight Triple G." Canelo's a little man. Canelo's moving up in weights. Just because this guy is moving up in weights, don't judge him as the bigger guy when another guy like Charlo or Bud wants to move up. Canelo's littler than them, man. So you know, can you understand that?
Well, I mean,
it's not a real big thing to say. Bud and Canelo would be a fight at 165 if Bud does what Canelo did.
Well, we shall see indeed.
Right?
We shall see. There's going to be, if there's a lot of money involved, which of course there is, you never know. People right now, Crawford and Canelo are both saying they're not interested. Maybe that's what they're saying in order to work behind the scenes to really get some interest riled up into this. But anyway, listen, T-Tone, we got to move on here, man. Anything else you want to say before we move on?
No, hey, I just had to put it on there that the true pound for pound, who the true pound for pound is. We watched it. We watched our fighter start and go all the way to where he says, oh, no, hold on there. And the other guys, they have to pretend. When you pretend how far Bud can go or a monster, let him go up 35 pounds. We cheer for the person that did it, not the person you pretend who did it. All right, BDA?
There you go. All right. Well, T-Tone, breaking it down right there. Shout out to you, T-Tone.
And I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Fantastic. Good to hear from you, man. Take it easy out there. That was T-Tone Toledo. All right. That was T-Tone working on his cars and working on his boxing list as well there. He says Canelo jumped more divisions than Crawford, and so therefore Crawford jumping up to fight him wouldn't be all that bad. That's what he's saying. Let us know what you think.
It's a good point. It's a good point, BDA.
But Crawford started at 126, right? His pro debut, or 130?
I think 130. Sure.
130. Yeah, and he had a few fights there. Canelo started at 140 to his credit, and I'm always tooting Canelo's horn. I'm just saying in this instance, he started at 140, but had one fight there and went to 147. So for him to come up from 130 to 168, that's a huge ask. That's all I'm saying. And Canelo would do, remember, financially, it's not going to be the motive for Canelo. He's getting $50 million regardless. You know what I'm saying? It's all about, it'll be all come down to Crawford. Are you willing to do that? How prideful is he, though? Is he willing? Does he want to get a loss regardless? I understand everybody would brush it off like, dude, of course, you went up to 168. You attempted greatness and you failed. But that's still fucking hard for a lot of guys to swallow. Knowing that you could retire, already being spoken of as an all-time great welterweight, with no fucking losses. You see what I'm saying? So that's a lot. He'd have to process all that. I'm not saying he wouldn't do it, but that's just a big ask is all I'm saying.
And Jimmy, and it's not like Crawford. It's not like Canelo would go in there to see, okay, I'm gonna box you, and the victory goes to like the best boxer. No, Canelo's gonna go in there to try to press him and break him down, beat him up, and get him out of there. And that would look like a real bad loss for Crawford if he was pummeled into defeat at his later stage when he's already 34, 35, possibly like his last fight, obviously, because if he gets a shit kicked out of him, he can't probably recover from that. And that'll look real bad like it did against Roy Jones, right? Roy Jones would have been great if he retired after John Reese. That would have been it. His pound for pound status, like of all time, would have still been like real high, but it started going lower because all the losses he took later in life.
Exactly, and you just nailed it right too. Canelo clearly isn't going to try to outbox him. That'd be crazy. He's just not going to overextend. They'd move. It'd be an extremely boring fight because it'd be a lot of movement. There'd be a lot of just foot placement, checking distance, and then Canelo would just eventually, once he gets his range, just start pretty much bum rushing him with shots. You know what I mean? Because he's going to be so much bigger and naturally stronger. Because he's been walking around at 180, 85 now all the time, naturally working out. So just the natural strength, like you can put that muscle on, but just because you put it on, the size, you're not bringing up all that strength. You need time to acclimate to that weight. Like you can work yourself up and okay, all right, we're 160 right now in fighting shape. Still different. That's the reason why it was imperative, as far as I'm concerned, for Spence to have fought Crawford right when he grabbed that belt, right when he jumped up to 147, grabbed the belt. Take him now, man, before his body's used to it. His legs not used to 147 right now. Look at the way he moves now from when he first turned to 147. His balance, his foot, just the way he looks. See how much more muscular he looks? The muscle's more dense now. He's grown into 147. His body's gotten bigger. That was a big mistake on Spence's part. No, I don't think he would have beat Crawford even then. I think Crawford would have outboxed him absolutely. I just think the difference might be he might not have stopped him until all these other, factors.
Well, he would have not stopped him that easy, right? If he would have stopped him, it would have been accumulation. That was just a beatdown. You know what I'm saying?
That was a throttling. Not only was it a throttling, I've rewatched that fight like 5 times now, and without a doubt, there was times I think in the 5th round that Crawford could have stopped him. Without a doubt, he could have jumped in and whacked him. You saw it. You just saw the way he would hit him, and then he was in the same position. And I was checking every fucking camera angle I could find on these, and it was times that he could have I saw Spence off balance. He could have come in with one of his Crawford combos and try to get him out of this sooner. I totally believe in my heart that mean motherfucker, and I don't blame him, 5 years of the bullshit of the fucking name calling and who you fought, your resume sucks. They came this close to ripping greatness, because think about this, guys. If that fight never fucking happens, he retires as one of the biggest what ifs, and half the people, even some of the people I respect, I read on Twitter, would have still had question marks about this dude. And he had to eat that and try to stay fucking humble for 5 years. And like you said, I go to pray to God, and every fucking time I went to church, just give me the chance, just give me the chance. And they gave him Porter, and then he thought after Porter he wasn't going to take it. And I totally believe he didn't fight Porter with all he got.
Let's not act like he was Nelson Mandela rotting away in the jail. I mean, the guy was getting paid more than he really deserved.
No, dude. I'm not talking fuck Nelson Mandela, that communist murderer. I'm talking about he was a piece of shit. But anyways, but I'm talking about. Listen, they stripped him from that. They took that from him. If they wouldn't have made that fight, and the reason I'm leading into this, because now the narrative is this is all thanks to Al Heyman. We had that fight thanks to Al Heyman. That's literally what they're going with. It's like you mean the dude who fucking put this off for 5 years.
I was going to say, Jimmy, the problem with Spence. I mean, credit to Crawford. He did what he was supposed to. He looked amazing. But the problem with Spence, from a tactical point of view, in my opinion, he was compromised because of the car wreck. Not only that, the big one is the weight cut. And when you're in your mind, you still think that you're a pressure fighter that can't take a punch. Obviously, for example, Postal got on the back foot. He made it very difficult for Crawford. But in your mind, when you can't take a punch, but you think you still can, not only are you ready to get hit because you're within the distance, you think you could take a punch, but you cannot. So he was served in the silver platter for Terrence Crawford, because the guy was right up on him, thinking I'm gonna break Crawford down, but me myself can't take a punch. When in my mind, I think I can. The resistance was so he made it easy for Terrence Crawford. He was right there to be hit.
And Gonzalo, somebody I respect a lot, right? I don't get to talk to him as much as I'd like to, but his opinion is an older guy, so he's probably not going to be around much longer. But he's still a big, big fight guy, and he washes it and shit. And he said, beyond a shadow of a doubt, he came to himself a class too, I gotta admit. I thought, he could have shit talked Spence more, but he even started to say it was a flash knockdown. No, it wasn't. That second round wasn't just a flash knockdown. It was definitely off balance, but he was hurt. You can tell he was hurt because when he got up, he didn't try to engage. If it's a flash knockdown, you're gonna jump up and swing. Whew, you didn't hurt me, motherfucker. You tripped me. He shelled up and backed up to the fucking ropes because he knew an onslaught was coming, because he was shook badly. But for that shot to shake him, and Crawford knew how much he had on it. It was going to double up with that fucking right, follow with the jab. The cross kind of come with that right jab, fucking straight. He knew he didn't have next to nothing on that punch, and it hurt him like that. So I'm telling you, he dragged that fight on. I believe that in my heart. You couldn't convince me any different that he didn't fucking make that fight go to the 9th round. He could have ended that by 5, within 5, if he wanted to.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to
fighters that don't have a chin.
Sorry, fellas, because I gotta give a shout out, and we didn't finish to the phone calls either, man. They're piling up. Shout out to Jonathan Morrison for his contribution to Super Chat. He gave a large amount, but he didn't leave a message. He did that twice, by the way. So shout out to Jonathan Morrison for his contributions via the Super Chat. Shout out to Jonathan, aka Action Jackson. Shout out to Dark Hate Dog as well for his contribution. Didn't leave a Super Chat either. All right, Gonzalo, go ahead, and then I got to go back to the phone lines, man.
Yeah. Okay, I'll make it quick. At least some of the back foot fighters that don't have a chin, they use their legs to create the separation, and they'll try to box intelligently because they know they can't take a punch. But when you actually think in your mind that you can, and you're doing nothing about it to like retreat or be a little bit more defensively responsible, in your mind you're willing to exchange. And that was the problem. In his mind, he's thinking he's powerful like that. But no, the resistance wasn't there. That made Crawford's win real easy. It's not like I'm just saying it now. We've been saying it for fucking years. I told BDA this dude got CT like Riddick Bowe about a year ago. And it's true. And the weight cut. Always stressing the weight cut. I've been saying it too. Not just me, everybody. A lot of people have.
All right. Well, now listen, let's go back to the phone lines here. And don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. Let's go to 470. 470, you're in the air. 470. What's on your mind?
What's good, guys? Can you hear me?
Yes, indeed. What's up?
So, Canelo, Crawford. I don't know how. I think you said it a couple minutes ago. With the amount of money that fight could potentially generate, I don't see how they could both say that they're not interested, or Crawford say he's not interested. As for me, I'm not in the protection business. So if a guy's going to claim pound for pound and he's the best and this and that, you guys had a show a couple days ago where you were asking who's number one. I think it was out of Crawford, Inoue, and Usyk. For me, I like Usyk. When I think of a pound for pound guy, I want to see a guy who's so skilled. He's so tough. He's so skilled. He's such a great boxer. He can go take on a bigger guy. He can take on a physical threat and win the fight. And to me, that's what Usyk did. He did that with Anthony Joshua. A guy with 25, 30. I mean, look at the size difference between the two. And he took on a guy 20, 25, 30 pounds bigger than him twice. You talking about a guy who went in there, he's getting his eye busted, he's getting his ribs busted, and he's in pain after the fight, and he comes out on top. So when you say pound for pound, that's the type of risk, a guy should take. So when these guys say, oh, I don't want to see, we don't know if he'll lose his own. So I like to see, Crawford, he's a household name now. He's a mainstream name. People have known about Canelo for like 7, 8, 9 years now. So you're looking at a fight that could potentially generate, if we're still doing looking at pay-per-views, 2-3 million pay-per-views. Everybody in America watched that fight, and worldwide. You got a, Mexican fighter, black fighter, everybody knows them, household names. Why wouldn't you do it? Crawford has like 6 kids. You're looking at potentially putting $50-60 million in your pocket. So why would you not take the fight? I think the fight, just maybe Canelo come down to maybe 164, 163, 164. Get in the ring and do it.
Hey, you know what? You should sell the fight to these guys, man. Whenever they bring him up to them, if indeed they ever bring it up, you should put it together. You're a salesman. What is it called? ABC, always be closing. That's what this call. Who is this caller, by the way? You sound familiar.
This is Chris in Atlanta.
Chris in Atlanta. Chris, you made some excellent points, man. Some excellent points right there. Anything else you want to say?
Nah. I caught that show, man. You guys blew up with that doctor, man. I was looking at your channel. I'm like, man, this guy's had 350,000 views off this video. So with the doctor who called in about the Errol Spence, but no, I'm good, man. You guys just keep it up, man. You got a good show going on, and like I said, I think I don't know why they wouldn't fight. This is prize fighting. Why go up and fight? He could potentially lose against Tim Tszyu or one of the Charlo brothers. He could potentially lose one of those fights. So if you're going to risk a loss and fight, why not risk a loss against Canelo? Nobody would hold against him. He fought him at super middleweight. Catch weight of 163, 164. Nobody would hold against him. Everybody's seen what he's done. So that's what I think that they should do. Crawford needs, even Canelo, stop all this business of trying. Don't go to 175 again. No Bivol. See, people are holding. That's the problem with boxing fans. When you do something, they don't appreciate it. He went up to 175. He fought Bivol, and everybody's dropping him on the pound for pound. Stay away from better BS. I like this fight for both guys, Canelo and Crawford.
Well, there you go, man. All right, listen, Chris, thank you for your call. Call back next time, all right, man? Take it easy out there. Excellent points.
All right, guys. Yep.
All right. Let's see. Yeah, don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. We still got a couple of phone calls here. We still got a couple of them, so let's get through them here. And then I want to bring something up. Though we're far from done here. 301, you're in the air. 301, what's on your mind?
Hey, BDA, what's up? I started listening to the show a little late. What are you guys discussing? Canelo's a tranny? Is that
No,
I heard
no,
on the call.
No, you're mixing up. That was
what we're talking about?
That was 50 minutes ago.
He's
No,
finally becoming a woman. I mean, it makes sense if you think about it. You know, his wife, she's got plastic parts to her. She looks like a Mexican sex doll. Like one of those like Japanese fabricated sex dolls. But like a Mexican flavor. I think we put it in context. Yeah, so interesting topic selection as always. Yeah. Guys,
right. Well, listen, you had to bring up the return to that subject which we were trying to get away from. But what's up, man? What else is on your mind?
I mean, why not? Why fight Inoue anyway? I think he has a better shot. Canelo versus Inoue. You can imagine a washed-up Canelo, like 39. He moves up. He fights better BF. I guess face rearranged, and it could happen. I can see that. I think if they fought. What? What's up?
I was going to say, I gave the previous caller props for him selling the Canelo-Crawford fight. I'm going to do the opposite with you. That's an absolutely awful job of selling an Inoue Canelo fight.
Yeah. No, listen, he's got speed, okay? Speed kills. Canelo, I feel like he's just going to fall down the route of Oscar De La Hoya. We're going to see pictures of him in unflattering circumstances. He's always going to be wide-eyed. Did you see that?
Wait a minute.
I think he wanted to fight an MMA guy, Peter Belfort. His eyeballs were like 3 times the size of a normal human. Just bulging out of his head. Canelo's got a little slit eyes, right? So if his eyes were like bulging, it would be like a really funny image.
He had the COVID, man. That's why he had to drop out of that fight. He had the COVID. What, you're gonna doubt him?
The kung flu got him. Yeah.
There you go, man. There you go.
That's it. The kung flu. So another Asian sensation is gonna get the Canelo. You know what I'm saying?
Because the kung flu got to him, so therefore Inoue is also gonna get to him. And look at this photo here. Look at this photo. That's Loya when he dropped out of the Vitor Belfort fight because he had the COVID. Come on, man. Look at him in the bed there. He doesn't look good at all. That's the second worst De La Hoya photo I've ever seen. I'll let you guess which one's the worst one. But yeah, this is the second worst De La Hoya photo I've ever seen.
There's like 12 of him in the fishnet. So
come on,
right? I don't know if you like those or not. No. Maybe you're referring to something else. I don't know.
You know what, man?
I don't know what you have on your folder.
We gotta move on. All right, listen. Good call, and I'm saying that just to get out of this.
You don't think this is a quality conversation? You don't like to stop it in a second.
No, it's gotten way too dirty for my liking. I'll tell you that much right now. But listen, we do have to go. But thank you for your call. Call back next time, right, man? Take it easy out there.
All right. Great call, BDA. Call back next time. All right.
Okay, now he's playing mind games with me. All right, let's go to another phone call here. We're almost done here. Let's go to 404. 404, you're in the air. 404, what's on your mind? 404.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on? I'm listening at a lot of the callers speak today, and some of this stuff is just ridiculous, man. As boxing fans, what we like to do when we have an undefeated fighter, we want to see this guy lose for whatever reason. Something that's deep down our heart just wants to find somebody to beat this guy. Why the heck would Terence Crawford come from 147 to fight Canelo Alvarez at 168? I remember when Canelo Alvarez at the Canelo weight was 155. He would rehydrate up to 182 pounds. What do you think he's rehydrating up to at 168? He's coming in 185, 187 pounds, easy. So why the heck would you go up there and fight a guy that, that's a big, strong guy? You have no reason to go up there and fight him. I mean, Canelo is built like a tank. I mean, Crawford's not going to be able to hurt him.
40
and they already said they're not going to fight him. There's no reason. There's no reason to make the fight. There's no reason at all. And then it's the elephant in the room also. Do you think Terence Crawford could beat David Benavidez? No, because he's too big. Do you think Terence Crawford can beat Benavidez-Andrade? No, he's too tall. He's too long. He's a southpaw. Styles makes fights. Why don't Canelo fight David Benavidez? Why we calling for this? I'm not calling for this nonsense. It's nonsense. It's rubbish. You know, the guy won the fight. Hey, let him fight Charlo. Let him fight Errol Smith in a rematch and let him retire undefeated.
Well, you kept saying about the reasons, right? And the boxing business is bringing this fight up. It's already, we were barely 1 week into Crawford's win over Spence, and this Canelo fight was already brought up. And that's the thing. What reasons or what motives would Crawford have in fighting Canelo? I don't know, man, about 55 million? That's what these people care about, man. It's about the money. But caller, I agree with what you're saying, but you got to keep in mind, these guys are prize fighters. If they offer them a prize that they've never seen before, chances are they're going to take it.
But it's selfish reasons, because at the end of the day, one thing that the internet and all these content creators create, narratives and stuff, they basically just want to see you lose at the end of the day. I mean, if you really want to get right down to it.
I think that's true to a certain extent. I think that's true to a certain extent with anything, whether it's a boxing or another sport. I do agree with that. For some reason, I think, and I get this from talking with people, by the way, and following the trends and all that. People love it when a guy wins, but eventually they go, okay, I want to see him tested. I don't know if it's necessarily losing, but they certainly want to see this guy tested. And I think that's what's going on with Crawford. His performance was so sensational last Saturday that now people are saying, okay, fuck him against Ennis and Jermell Charlo. It's like blah, blah, blah. We want to see him. The only way he loses is if he fights a much bigger guy. That's probably what some people are thinking. But hey, let me ask you this, though. Crawford, Yeah.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if indeed it happens, which is not outside the realm of possibility, Crawford-Canelo, would you purchase it on pay-per-view?
Yeah, but if I was going to make that fight happen, I'd make Canelo come all the way down to 160 pounds. I'd make him come all the way down. Make the fight a middleweight fight. I would not go up to no goddamn 21 pounds. I'll meet you halfway. You know what I'm saying? I go up 13, you come down 8. That's fair.
All things considered, from a boxing perspective?
Because at the end of the day, he's going to blow right back up. He's going to be 183, 184 pounds come fight night. And what's called not he probably won't even be 106 pounds. It's probably at 158 versus 183 pounder. Because like I said, when Canelo was making 155, when he had the Canelo weight, he would rehydrate up to 182 pounds. When Amir Khan fought Canelo Alvarez, Canelo weighed 184 pounds that night.
Yeah,
he said he hit him. He was like hitting a brick wall.
All things considered, from a boxing perspective. 184. From all things considered, from a boxing perspective, and I got OCD too, so I just want to, see these things get done. Don't want to get my hands dirty. Just make Canelo Benavidez already. Let's see what happens with that, and then maybe the Crawford fight will still be there.
That's what I'm talking about right there. They said it. Benavidez, go ahead and make that fight. That's the elephant in the room. You can't. That man deserves a shot. You can't keep ducking him. You can't keep dodging him. He's in the room. He's in the building. You can't keep saying when people want to protect people, they come up with all these reasons. Oh, he don't deserve a shot. He don't deserve this. So you saying that Amir Khan deserved a shot at Canelo Alvarez? Look at all the people on Canelo Alvarez's resume. You saying all those people deserve that they're better fighters than David Benavidez? Everybody that's on Canelo Alvarez's resume, David Benavidez was beat. So I don't know what the holdup is. Other than he beat them all.
Speaking of Benavidez, we got to get to him. We got some news about him, or potential news. So listen, we got to move on here, but thank you for your call, and call back next time, all right? Take it easy out there.
All right, thanks.
All right. Yeah, we got to get to Benavidez because there's a rumor flying around about who he might fight next. But let's just take one more call here, and then we'll get back to the panel here. 818, you're on the air. 818, what's on your mind?
Hey, what up, BDAs, the boxing scientist?
Oh, boxing scientist. What's up, man?
Yeah. So that last caller, man, he's so full of shit.
Oh, wait a minute.
He pretty much wasted. Huh?
No, I said, wait a minute. But yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so he just wants to protect Bud, protect his O. He wants him to, be like Floyd Mayweather and protect his O at all costs, just cherry pick, follow the Mayweather blueprint. And, he was talking about he wants to see Bud versus Jermell. Jermell has no interest in that. He can't even make 154 anymore. This is why he paid step-aside money to Tim Tszyu twice already. He has no intentions of going back to 154. He probably can't even make the weight anymore. This guy's such a giant weight bully. And so for people that are criticizing this fight, saying Canelo is picking on a smaller guy, these guys are completely out of their fucking mind. And you're going to see, watch, when they face off, you're going to see how Jermell towers. Like, he's going to tower over Canelo. He's got the reach, everything on him. Even Crawford is a weight bully. He's got the reach on Canelo, too. He's the same height as Canelo. He's got the reach on Canelo. These guys are all weight bullies, man. And Bud's on the snack program. Yeah, I would love to see Canelo versus Bud. I think that's fair. I think they're similar in size. I would give the size advantage actually to Bud in that fight also as well. He's going to have the reach advantage on Canelo. The snack program allows these guys to keep cutting weight, this ridiculous amount of weight. And this guy was over here trying to say Canelo was weight bullying people, and it's like he was rehydrating to 180. There's no proof of that. These are all rumors. There's no proof of that. We know Victor Conte has gone on record saying that he knows how to mask PEDs. He's been banned from the Olympics. So why is he allowed to participate with professional boxers? That's what I don't get. And these motherfuckers just turn a blind eye to it because, it's okay if Bud Crawford is part of Snack. If Canelo was part of Snack, they would be fucking talking mad shit. But it's double standards. You know what it is already. I would love to see Bud Crawford and Canelo. I think that's a fair fight. Crawford actually looked bigger than Spence, who is a weight bully himself, who has admitted he struggles making the weight. These guys are all weight bullies, bro. Canelo's not a weight bully. He's fighting at the size where he doesn't really have to cut that much weight. So Jermell, he's actually doing Jermell a favor because Jermell doesn't have to focus on cutting weight that much. He can just focus on his training and mastering his craft, right?
Yeah. That's an interesting point right there, man. I guess the onus, what I'm hearing from boxing fans here is that some are placing the onus on Canelo to fight Benavidez already, just get it done already. Other people are putting the onus on Terence Crawford, say, hey, how about he moves up and takes on a big challenge? Some of these other dudes like Lomachenko are fighting above their weight class and all that, so why not him? So that's an interesting point of view right there, and I suspect it's going to be... Go ahead, Jimmy.
Well, can I just say, I just got to push back on one little thing. Yes, he might be with Snack, but whatever information Conte has, right, he makes it seem like, not you, but even when he talks about himself and his own knowledge, he kind of puffs it up a little. Whatever he knows, believe me, Canelo and Canelo's people know. And Canelo has the money, like, after the first fight with Triple G, he flew to Germany. And that's just how I'm just saying, that's where they make the best, where they draw your blood, they synthesize it, and they make a hormone explicitly for you to make the optimum growth in your muscles. He comes back, he's clearly bigger. The next time they fight, denser. My point being, I can't prove anybody's on steroids, anybody's using growth, but whatever benefits he gets from Conte, believe me, Canelo could have in more because he has the funds to do so. At least had the funds. Now that Crawford has those kind of funds too. But Canelo had the access to the best doctors on the planet. So I just wanted to say, like, if he wanted to cheat, I'm saying the sky's the limit for him too. Just want to put that out there. Not saying he does.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. However, okay, it's one thing to have the funds. It's another to have the access or the information, the knowledge of where to acquire these drugs or whatever, these PEDs. That's two completely different things.
Well, whatever PEDs are using is growth hormone. That's what they'd be using. Like most fighters aren't going to be messing with like fucking shooting Decatur or balling or, shit like that. It's going to be growth hormone because it's almost next to impossible to pick up. The gains you get, you keep. It's just for a benefit of reasons. That's what they're going to be messing with now. That and diuretics.
Well, there you go. All right, boxing scientist. Anything else you want to say before we move on?
Oh, no, just yeah, thanks for having me. Hey, congrats on the growth of your channel, man. Keep it up. Everybody support BDA, man. Check out my channel, too, The Boxing Scientist 5703, The Boxing Scientist 5703. Thanks, man.
All right, take it easy out there.
That was a great call, though.
Yeah, thank you for your call, man. All right, that was The Boxing Scientist. I think I've caught him on Frank Bay's show as well. I think Never Sobers as well, so shout out to him. What else was I going to say? Okay, so listen, guys, I got to go to take a little bit of a break here, but I'll leave you with this news here. And apparently, they're saying that David Benavidez, that is, they were trying to shop around the Morrell fight. Apparently, that's not happening. Now they're starting to think that maybe they'll throw him in there with David Benavidez. And by the way, let me just say this. They're going to throw him with Demetrius-Andrade. What the fuck am I talking about? David Benavidez versus Demetrius-Andrade. And this just goes to point out what the boxing chief was saying about 7-8 months ago when he said that the PBC was going to start liquidating their inventory. We saw that now with Errol Spence. They finally put him in there with Crawford. Fulton, they let him go to Japan against Inoue. And now Demetrius-Andrade, the guy that they used to have and now they have again, and they put him in there against Nichols in his last fight. And he didn't look all that great. Now they might throw him in there against David Benavidez. What do you guys think about that move, and how do you see that one playing out? I'll be right back.
Well, yeah, that's where the rubber meets the road. I mean, at some point, the fighter gets old, and you don't need him no more. He's got to go anyways. So whether you make money on him or not, that's up to you, and you probably want to do that before he's fucking over the hill. Right, Jimmy?
Absolutely. I mean, Andre's been an albatross around whatever promoter's neck. I mean, think about it. All he does is turn down the big fights. He fights, he signs a three fight deal with HBO. He can't even get that done. He has 2 fights and they fire him. Like, dude, no, forget it. You kidding me? We gave you a shot to impress us, dude. You know what I mean? Because you had kind of a bad situation with Rock Nation and you stink up the place. You know what I mean? So fucking, yeah, and then he goes to, wherever, over to the zone, I guess, and he's turning fight down after turning fight down. And so, like, here's the thing. He's slippery. It'll be kind of a bad matchup for, like, Benavidez because he's not going to be right there for him. He's going to make Benavidez work for it, and that's when Benavidez is showing weaknesses, is when he has to go find the guy. We've seen that against Plant. That's not his strong point. His strong point is pommeling people. But his on the plus side, Andrade doesn't punch hard, especially for 168. So, you know what I mean? Am I excited for it? No. I mean, Morrell would have been a much better fight. But again, that's always been the case with this kid. And I'm not even saying it's him. It could be his handlers. He lets people around him make stupid decisions because, man, a lot of talk from somebody just continuously never fights anybody fucking when he should or at the level he should. That's just my opinion.
He probably would have been mandatory for Canelo had he fought, I think it was Zach Parker. Then I think Ryder fought Parker. Then Ryder got the Canelo fight. So
what a dummy. He blew the...
He got many opportunities. He wanted to fight Eubank just for fucking clout. And we know that guy ain't that good. Yeah, but him and Benavidez, you can either put up or shut up because at some point, what are you? Are you a fucking boxer? Are you a clown? I mean, there's only a short window for a dude in his prime to fight. And if you ain't doing it if you ain't doing it now, you're never gonna do it.
It showed he doesn't draw too. Listen, PBC right now is obviously now they're seeing numbers, $500,000, $500,000 pay-per-views, 500,000 pay-per-views sold. So they got Plant against Benavidez. What did it do? Did it even crack 100? This kid's not pulling in the numbers, and the reason why, it's because he doesn't fight enough. And the reason I have to also push back against the caller, a couple calls ago, 3 million, it would never see that. And here's the reason why: he'd be coming up 3 weight classes, and there's a lot of hardcore fans who just wouldn't deem this a big challenge, or they just, you know what I mean? For that reason alone, it wouldn't pull those numbers. If they were in the same weight classes, it would. If they were both like, or even have to go up 1 weight class. Oh yeah, it would be a huge fight, much bigger.
Wait, which fight?
Anyways,
which fight?
You want to say something? Crawford against Canelo, because he's coming up 3 weight classes. That would hamper the sales without a doubt. You know what I'm saying? It would.
But it
if
would
he
do
was
much
going up
better,
1 weight
man.
class, it would do probably 2 million.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, of course, if it's in the same weight class. But I mean, this is still the biggest fight that Crawford could take, and that's the whole point of this show.
Money wise, absolutely.
He'll hear
and
money.
I understand why you're throwing it out there.
Well, let me just say this: he'll have to think. He'll have to think about it. Is what I'm saying. He'll have to think about it. But I wanted to hear about your the Benavidez versus Andrade fight. What were you guys saying about that?
No, man, he needs to take the fight. Go ahead. You can talk. Recognize. I already said Benavidez wasn't here, but yeah, everybody
it's
else.
A fight that needs to happen. Look, Benavidez-Andrade has been a disappointment. Let's be honest. He's a disappointment. I don't care if you're a fan of him. This is a guy who turned down fights, like Jimmy said, and Gonzalo. He has turned down big fights. He's a promoter's nightmare. Okay, he just is. And then when he gets in there, he stinks up the joint. That's what he does. He needs to go in there and fight. Like he had a chance to be. He calls out Canelo. He had a chance to be his number one contender where Canelo wouldn't have a choice, and he turns down that Zach Parker fight. Who then Ryder goes in there and beats him, and he gets the fight. Like, dude, you're getting outshined by dudes that you're supposed to be way better than. I don't think he is, but guys that he's supposed to be, above them. And he's just a disappointment. And for Benavidez got to stay active, and he's got to fight names. Guys with Benavidez-Andrade. He's not a scrub. He's a good level opposition, and so that's a fight that I'm not going to say it prepares you for Canelo, but it's like a confidence booster if he goes in there and he beats him, and let's say he beats him in impressive style, which I think is possible. So it kind of works both ways. For Andre, look, man, one thing about boxing and sports is that sometimes you get to prove people wrong. And this would be his opportunity to do that. I don't think so. I think he's a bum. Like that's what I think. Like skill wise, he's decent, but like his mentality makes him a bum. And he has a chance to prove people wrong.
I remember because I remember when we were watching Liam Williams versus Andrade, and we went live right afterwards because it was on. It was in England, so it was about 7 p.m. over here. And we were talking about how fucking Andrade had to run for the last 6 rounds, clinching all the way through. That was about 2 years ago, I want to say. Now, against Benavidez, Plant gave him trouble for the first 6 rounds, made him look awful. Just couldn't get his feet set, missing at the wind, leaning with leaping left hooks, and Plant was just making him miss. Then, of course, Benavidez keeps coming. The guy can't keep up with the pressure and starts falling apart. I think Andrade could do something similar. I think he could make Benavidez look bad early on. But if he was huffing and puffing, clinching his way to a decision against Jack Colkey and against Liam Williams, I can't imagine what Benavidez would do to him once he gets him tired. And everything you guys said about Andrade, it's Andrade has convinced some people out there that he's this boogeyman. He's the Pernell Whitaker of the 160, 68 pound divisions, and that he could, that he could just wrestle and dazzle. I got news for these people. When you're struggling with Jack Colkey, Vanessa Martirosyan, and Liam Williams, who, by the way, that doesn't mean you're a bad fighter, but it just means he's not the guy that he was making himself out to be, or that some of his fans are making him out to be, and that's just a reality.
I mean, he's pretty good. The first quarter of a fight, he usually got speed. He'll get a knockdown or two. But what happens with him, the further he starts going into deep waters, the more disheveled he becomes. He starts sprawling his legs too wide. He starts moving in a straight line backwards where he can't keep his shit together. He can't keep his arms tight, throw straight punches any longer. So I think Benavidez, especially since he's tall, I think he did pretty good against Plant. He could cover a lot of distance. He could cover a lot of ground with them long legs. He's going to end up walking Andrade back and down to where that dude, when he becomes disheveled, he's not going to be able to respond and keep up with Benavidez's onslaught, in my opinion.
I agree with Gonzalo.
That's all I would see. It it would end that way. Again, that's the only thing Andrade has is the movement, and that's what gives Benavidez trouble is movement. Because again, he's just rock 'em, sock 'em, get in the kitchen, and he fucking lets him go. But I think Plant probably even hits harder than Andrade, and Plant wasn't able to keep him. Although I don't really remember Plant trying to lay too much onto his punches. It's more fucking like he did with Canelo, a lot of rapid dappers. Yes.
I know Plant slaps harder than
Oh man, yeah, he does.
Now wait a minute. But it's interesting about that because Andrade, when he went back to the PBC, maybe he'd heard that Canelo was gonna be making his way over there. Maybe that's why he decided to resign with the PBC. I don't know. I'm just speculating here, but I don't know if I can only imagine that he might be kicking and screaming right now at the notion of fighting Benavidez. And I don't think he wants that.
He might pull out of that fight, BDA. He might pull out of it.
Right.
Remember, he pulled out of the Lara fight. There was rumors that a fight was offered to fight Mel Charlo, not Maul, Mel Charlo, and he complained about the money. So, there were fights there for him. He kind of lies, and his fanboys lie for him. Oh, the Charlos ducked him, and nobody in the PBC That's not true. We know for sure Lara wanted to fight you, boy, and there was no doubt about that. You turned down that fight.
What's interesting about that is Benavidez, he's beatable too. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot to overcome against Benavidez, but a guy like Andrade is not that guy. I mean, that's the type of style that I suspect Benavidez is just relishing to fight because he knows. And by the way, Andrade, he can crack harder than it seems. But you know what his problem is? He can sustain that power. Every fight that I've seen him in, or not every fight, but every major fight that I've seen him in, his power, it decreases because of what Gonzalo said. The stamina decreases. So he cannot, it takes strength to pop. You need to put some mustard on those shots for them to hurt, for them to sting. And for a guy like Andrade, who shoots him quick, he's got those fast twitch muscles, he really needs to put out, it takes a lot of energy for him to do that. And then on top of that, the moving and the excessive moving and all that. So that's what ends up tiring him as well.
Getting older, BDA. He's also getting older now too.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. But I would like to see it happen because like Boxing Chief said too, it probably will happen at some point because the PBC now, they're getting rid of their inventory. They've got about, like I was talking about in the last show, I think it was the last show, that Espinosa recently said that the Lara Garcia fight's probably not taking place this Saturday. He said anyone that thought that it was taking place this Saturday was getting it from the wrong source. Well, ESPN had it up for about 6-7 weeks now that this fight was going to happen. In fact, I remember talking about it last month, I believe, or 2 months ago even, when I was talking about the horrible schedule from Showtime. And all of a sudden, it's not. So that begs the question: what's better, shitty fight, or no shitty fight at all?
Notice. I don't know if you guys notice how when Earl Spence was offered the kind of money that he was going to make, suddenly he didn't really care about the percentage or what Crawford was getting. Did you notice that? Like, the 60-40, 70-30, all that shit. You said what? 20 million? Yeah, I don't give a fuck what he makes.
How much? $100 a pay-per-view? 10s and 50 BSPs? Let's make it happen.
Yeah, he went, and that's why when I was asking about whether he was going to fight again, I think Jimmy did bring up the good point because Spence is the type of crazy guy that I think if he half retires, he's going to get the itch to come back. But I think Jimmy is right too. I could see the scenario that he talked about happen where he gets so much money and he says, you know what, I'm just going to bail out because that's essentially what he did, what he's been doing for the past 3 years. He's had one foot out the door, fighting twice in the last 3 years, boozing it up. I mean, it doesn't sound like, to me, it sounds like a guy who wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to fight, but at the same time, he wants to keep partying as if he's not fighting. And that is not how boxing works. You got to be all the way in or not at all. Now, before we go, though, we do have other business to discuss here. Yes, indeed. Pressing business.
I don't like this word.
Well, listen, Clarissa Shields, undefeated female fighter, undisputed. In the past, she said that she could beat Gennady Golovkin in a boxing match, that she could outbox him.
In a fake fairy tale fight. Yeah, she could. Absolutely.
Well, now she's, to her credit, recognize she's toning it down a little bit. She's been toning it down the last couple of months, and she said that she could beat Keith Thurman. Now, Keith-Thurman is no dummy. This is a guy who's been a high-level amateur for a while. I know for a fact that when he was younger, in his teens, he was sort of a wonder boy in the amateurs. People had high hopes for him. So he knows what he's capable of. He knows what his skills are. He knows he can hurt somebody if he really wants to, especially a woman in a boxing bout. So he recently said, he was interviewed about it, and he said, for a charity event, sure, he said, I'd probably just use my jab only. It's not really in my heart, but for the people and for charity, I would make something like that happen. Then he said, I would wear bigger gloves. I would let her wear smaller gloves. I would let her wear headgear too. I don't really want to punch a girl in the face.
And I would still fuck her up in the end.
Well, you know what though? Clarissa Shields.
Like, probably left that part out, you know. But
well, of course, he's a gentleman. He strikes me as a gentleman. Clarissa Shields, in turn, ended up posting a compilation, a montage melange, a vignette, if you will, of her sparring male fighters. And they're very quick cuts, by the way. It's not like, 10, 15 seconds of sparring and then onto another sparring. No, it's just like 1-2 combination and then another 1-2 combination, another sparring session. Never Sobers, shout out to Never Sobers, was playing a clip of, I think it was from True School Sports. Was it? Hold on, let me just check who had it. But he was playing, somebody had recorded, a YouTuber had recorded Shields sparring some guy that looked like, he looked like just like an average Joe that knew how to box and who was in shape. And he was fucking, you could tell he was taking it easy on her, and she was still having to go like full blast almost a little bit. So
listen, this is saying, I'm sorry, BDA, you weren't done. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, she's just, it was True School Sports. I'm just saying, she I don't know, maybe people prop her up a lot, or maybe it's getting to her head, the fact that she's been beating up these women easily. I don't think she understands that difference between sparring or fighting women and fighting a fucking guy that even she outweighs by 20 pounds. I don't think she understands how badly she could get hurt.
This is what I was going to say, BDA. A really tough girl can beat like a variety of different men. Like a guy who maybe doesn't have no form, but he's tough. A guy who's like a very feminine, right? She can beat those guys. But a really strong guy beats every girl. Every single girl. Doesn't matter who you are. I'll give you an example. I have a son who's 15. He's getting really tall. He's about, 5'10", maybe? He weighs about 150 pounds. And every time he moves, you can see every muscle tissue, every muscle out, right? And I think about how he could snap up and down, jump up, just do shit, handstands, backflips. If he smacks a girl, a grown-ass woman, she's going to be hurt really bad. Just a smack. One smack. Okay? I have sons that are teenagers, and I look at them and I'm like, look, my wife, she's in great shape. She keeps herself in excellent shape. My boys would beat the shit out of her. They just would. Okay? My wife could probably beat up a lot of girls just because of her shape she's in, the shape that she's in. But she wouldn't be able to beat up my boys. What keeps my boys in line is me. I keep them in line. Okay? The threat of violence when it comes from me. And they're good boys. They wouldn't disrespect their mother. But my point is that even with the training that these women have, it would be hard for them to beat a 15-year-old boy, a 13-year-old boy who doesn't practice boxing but just went ape shit on them. He just went animal on them, because that's what it would be like. So
and if you just break it down to the sport level of it, just look at any sport. Serena Williams, the best female tennis player, bar none. Yeah, right? Bar none. She got blown out 6-love, like 4 sets in a row by the 232nd ranked guy. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? The fucking female women's gold medal soccer team lost to a group of 15-year-old boys. It's just, we're built different. We can do the cisgender male fucking lunatic bullshit all we want, right, in society, because a bunch of rich white people are bored making up shit in universities, but men were built to hunt, kill, and fight and defend. Women were built to raise children. It's in our DNA, right? We're more powerful for many different reasons. You're not going to change all that. So just our muscle density, our muscle length, our strength, reaction time. Why do you think the best drivers in the world are men? Anything that takes reactionary time, the men are going to be faster at it because we're the hunters. But we can't have us try to raise children. We'd fuck them all up if we were involved in because that's not. Yeah, we don't have that nurturing side that women do. They have their thing. We have our thing.
Lucia Riker, who was considered one of the best female boxers in the history to do it, and one of the best female kickboxers also. She went in there with a guy in her weight class. I think it was kickboxing. And it was kickboxing. And the guy was ranked 105. He almost killed her, bro. He literally almost killed her. She said, I got hit so hard that wasn't something I've never seen from any woman. No woman ever hit me that hard.
Yeah, so at the elite level, that changes the way you fight, because even if you think about Keith Thurman as a man at the elite level, he's a very good boxer. But make no mistake, Keith Thurman is actually a fucking puncher. Remember one time? But what happened to Keith Thurman against other elite punchers, he got hurt to where he said, wait a minute, I'm going to get off my whole, I want to punch and knock you out type of boxing. Box you, I'm going to box you. But against a woman that can't punch, he's going to go in there and he's going to fucking say, I'm going to fucking try to knock you out instead of boxing the elite punchers that he didn't want to get hurt again. No, with her, there's no imminent threat. I'm going to fucking collapse a pocket. I'm going to go in there and cave your fucking skull in. And that's what would fucking happen. It wouldn't go any rounds.
I'll put it to
this way. You adjust your style based on you adjust your style based on the competition that you're facing. It doesn't mean that Keith Thurman can't punch. He can. It's just he's taking punches by other men. This wouldn't be the case.
I'll put it to you this way. There was in one of the clips.
He's very tired.
You guys, you got to mute yourselves, please. In one of the clips there, when sparring, that's okay. In one of the clips of the sparring there, you see she's at the Mayweather gym, I think, and she's sparring some much smaller guy, smaller fighter, male fighter. And at some point, the guy just puts the earmuffs on and starts walking her down. And she's flaring. Immediately, she sees that the guy's got the guard up, so she starts flashing her combos. And at some point, the guy just keeps walking her down, and she starts clinching off the ropes to get off the ropes. I'm thinking, there you go. So that's the guy saying,
was he throwing a punch?
Was that?
Yeah.
Was he throwing a punch at her?
Not when he was walking it down.
Came down.
He started walking her down. Did he throw any punches?
No, that's the thing. That's the thing. He just closed the distance with the hands up, and her flurries were doing nothing.
Had he thrown a punch at her, BDA, she would be finished.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So she's fucking delusional. Yeah. She needs to. This is reminding me of the Ronda Rousey hysteria from a couple of years ago. And Gonzalo hit the nail on the head. Keith Thurman is a puncher, but it's just he's been fighting at the high level. So people forget that that's why when you start increasing the competition, you can't really go around icing people the way you were before. But believe me, if Keith Thurman really wanted to, for him, Clarissa Shields is just like one of those guys.
Stephen Fulton would knock her ass out. Stephen Fulton would knock her out.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. Nate Campbell, former lightweight champion from 2008, I think he's been retired for about 10 years now. He said that he could come out of retirement, out of shape, fat, and he would still throw her fat ass through the ropes. That's what he said.
He would.
So he was checking.
No, he would. Listen, I'm trying to be nice here. I'll probably smack the shit out of her.
No, okay, now wait a minute. You can.
I'm just being honest. I just smack.
You can say shit like that, man. Come on.
150 pounds, that's a whole lot of tits and ass for Clarissa Shields as a man.
Come on, now wait a minute.
154. That's a lot of extra weight, really. The tits and the ass, that's like 2-3 extra. That's not solid.
Listen, she's a good female. She's a good female boxer. Why do we have to? I would say to her, like, nobody cares if you could beat up like a guy, bro. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, you are a woman. You're probably a very good woman boxer. You probably accomplished a lot, and you should stay in your lane. Like, you could probably beat up dudes. There's no doubt you could beat up guys that don't know how to fight, more than likely. You know, look, I'm playing around, but let's say if I come in there fucking fat, out of shape, smoking cigarettes, and go in there, she probably lace me up. But if you get a guy who's in shape, he knows how to throw punches. He can last. I'm talking about with power for 3 rounds. Even she'll get fucked up. That's what will happen.
And let's be honest, the only reason why this is even a conversation is because she wants it to be a conversation. This is what she needs to do to generate people, podcasts, and people to talk and write about her.
That's right.
She's one of the most abrasive people in professional sports. Let's just be honest. She can't help herself. She's so abrasive. She always sticks her foot in her own mouth. She's self-gratulatory. She's always fucking... It's just, listen, the weight class she holds the titles in at the top there's like 62 people on the whole planet registered as a professional fighter. So she's the greatest of 62 people. Yes, she's the best at it and a great fighter, but it's ridiculous. Even to entertain the idea, Thurman wouldn't even feel it, punches it. First shot he hits her, he's putting her fucking lights out. End of story. So that's just fucking facts. The rest of this is all smoke and mirrors to get people to talk about her because Ebony Bridges comes along with that tits and ass and knows what sells. We might be fighting, but men want to pay attention to us. We're gonna have to show the tits and ass, and that's what. And all of a sudden, now she's like got the more followers. Her fights are viewed more than Clarissa Shields. And then you got Serrano, who's is really good. Is an excellent fighter. And when she fought that British girl, that sold out Madison Square Garden. Like that, you know what that meant? That must have ate Clarissa Shields alive.
Oh yeah,
she can't sell out her own hometown back in Flint, Michigan. And these two girls sold out Madison like almost in record time. And it was a great fucking fight. And so this is what she has to do. She can't get a network behind her. She can't get people to write about her. She's abrasive on almost every subject she picks and says the wrong things. Her burner account, Paula Jackson, is the worst kept secret in Twitter. Everybody knows it's a burner account where she says some pretty fucking vile shit. A lot of it's racially based. So come on, fuck you. Seriously.
All right, now hold on. I gotta say something about that. You guys, the language today has been very salty and very toxic. Let's put a damper on that, shall we?
Why you got to use all this kind of language, huh?
Yeah, well, that type of language.
Because she's a negative motherfucker, man. She really is a negative girl. She has so much to be fucking happy for, and she's constantly crying a victim or downing everybody else's achievements.
Well, can I say something about that?
Man, she needed a PR team.
I think I've said this before, Jimmy, but I was listening to NPR once, and they had this, they love a story where a woman who's a fighter, and on top of that, she's black. Holy shit, NPR was all over it. So they're doing one of those, I think it was American Stories or whatever they call it, those segments they have. And they're doing a puff piece on Clarissa Shields. Jimmy, hey guys, it was a puff piece. It was supposed to make her look good. She actually looked bad because there's a point where she's in her house and they're trying to elevate her and they're going, she lives in her house where she constantly has her nieces and nephews over, blah, blah, blah. And then you can hear her scolding her nephew or niece or whatever it was. I was laughing my ass off. She came off sound, or maybe that was my perception. I'll be fair. Maybe that was my perception since I know what type of vitriolic character she really has. But it's just, she didn't come across well. And that was an NPR puff piece. Real quick. Let me give a shout out to Earl Stevens. That's Earl. Shout out to Earl. He says he took a former top-ranked fighter, matchroom fighter, and Golden Boy fighter for the PBC to finally pull in pay-per-view numbers. You're absolutely right there, Earl Stevens. That's an excellent point. And shout out to Action Jackson. That's Jonathan Merson for another contribution of the Super Chat. No message again, but shout out to him. And shout out to everybody who's donated so far. Somebody...
She's a skilled boxer, and I suspect, of course, I don't know, that when you get in the ring, I mean, you're fighting, in a real fight, it's 2 minutes for women. You got the bigger gloves, but in sparring, you also don on bigger gloves. And when you're fighting a man and you're putting in the work in the gym, you're just like boxing where the other dude's not gonna fucking like go for broke and try to like kick your ass. This is like even man to man. I mean, there's dudes that do it like Edwin Valero, fucking Mauricio Lara, Navarrete. Yeah, they'll try to kill each other in sparring. But most of the time, you go in there, you're not trying to beat the other dude up like that, right? Because you got another day to train after that. So when Clarissa Shields is like sparring some dudes and putting in the work to maybe even teach the other dudes how to let their hands go, the other dude understands, hey, I'm getting the benefit of maybe like learning how to flick out the jab against this pretty quick woman boxer, but I'm not going to go in there to try to impose my man strength on her. And that's what it's escaping her.
That's right.
And can I just say, think about this, Mr. BDA, real quick. The PBC, Al Heyman doesn't even sign her. He wants nothing to do with her. You know what I'm saying? She's a toxic individual, and she just doesn't do the numbers.
Not even Al Heyman wants to do it.
No, he doesn't. Al Heyman doesn't. You know what I mean? And he doesn't want nothing to do with her.
You're a wrench.
Well, what type of money is he gonna get off her? There's no money to make off her. By the way, this whole ESPN naked photo shoots that they used to do. Why did they shoot her in that hill? That's the same hill that Men on Fire, the movie Men on Fire, when Denzel Washington starts cutting off those detectives' fingers in a car. That's the same hill. I don't know why they chose to do it there, but it's kind of creepy there if you think about it. I think that's in Mexico or somewhere. I don't know. Sounds like that. It looks like that way to me. Look at that. Hold on a second. See, it's the same hill. Look at that.
Even though she's got a decent, she's got a pretty nice shape, but you can tell that when I say nice, I'm talking about athletically. Like you could tell she's an athlete, but she's still feminine. Like she has, and there's nothing wrong with that. Personally, there's not. I think it's what helps identify you as a fucking woman. See, when a man is built like that, everything is muscle. You know what I'm saying? When a man is built in her
with an ass like
shape,
that, is what you're saying?
No, listen to what I'm saying. I don't want no homo. Okay, there's no homo.
I don't know what you're saying.
We're just muscle differently. Like she's got softness. All right. So I'm gonna use fucking me because I don't want nobody to think. If you would have seen me in that same pose, you'll see my legs full of muscle.
Okay, why?
It's the difference.
Why would we want to imagine you naked?
Because you did this BDA, all right? You don't want that.
Oh, I did it. I did. Okay, it's blame BDA day. All right.
That's a Puerto Rican thing, BDA. Just keep on listening. It's a Puerto Rican thing.
Well, my point is this. See how she's muscular, right? But if you look at her thighs, they're still kind of feminine. That's the difference between her and a man who's an athlete. That man is more muscle tone than she is. And
I got you.
All the difference he needs. That's all the difference he needs. Of
course.
Like you said, Big BDA, you're built like a goddess, like a Greek goddess.
Think about it this way. That dude, that transgender, whatever, who went to MMA, women's MMA, and started beating the shit out of them, just ragdolling them. And this is a guy because the counter argument was, well, he's been on hormones for years now. He still has a men's frame, like recognize he's saying he still has a men's frame, men's bones, men's ligaments. Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe they get weakened over the years with the hormones but he's still training. It's still a man, in a biological male, and he's ragdolling these women like they've never been ragdolled before.
And did you hear him after the fight? I'm here to whip all their asses, just like
tendon strength. Your tendon strength, length of bone, doesn't get affected by hormones.
He didn't even hide. I'm sorry, Jimmy. I was going to say this. He didn't even hide that he was a man. After the fight, he said, "What did the crowd think about that? I'm here to whip all these bitches' asses." Like that's. I mean, is this a joke? Like, is that a joke? Like, this guy's not even hiding.
Against other women, Clarissa Shields ain't knocking out other women. I think she got one knockdown, but it wasn't like she stopped the girl. It was like she got stopped on her feet. She's not knocking the other girls out. I think she's gonna knock out a man, and a man that got punching power to return.
So you know what she's gonna do? As soon as if Shields-Thurman were a psycho and he decided to go all out of her, she would start crying. I guarantee you, she was as soon as the fight gets waved off and her face is lumped up and purple, she'd start crying, and people would have to go comfort her and everything. It's like, hey, stop talking as if you're a man. Stop talking as if you can have a chance at beating this guy.
BDA, go watch those videos of like these butch girls. There was one particular video. It's in the ghetto somewhere. It's somewhere you wouldn't want to, you wouldn't want to like get car to break down. Let's just put it that way. And so this lady is talking shit to this man, like, and she's a dyke, right? Oh shit! Let me be careful how I say that. This is YouTube. She's, one of those butch girls, right? I can say that.
Women in comfortable shoes.
Right. She looks tough. She looks like she'll whip most girls' ass. Okay. She's talking shit to this dude. The dude just turns around. The dude looks at her, right? Didn't say one word. He just smacked her. She was discombobulated. He said, "Go home, man. Go home. Go home." He kept telling her, "Just go home before I get real mad."
Oh.
He just smacked her one time, okay? And she's all over the place. She's like drunk. Okay, she fell on the floor. She got back up, fell back down. She got back up, fell back. She was a big girl. Okay, the guy has some size too. I'm not gonna say that he didn't. But he flinch smacked her, and he told her, "Go home before it gets really bad." And I'm like, yes. If that man would have punched you, and you're doing all that with a smack, you would be. There'd be no movement. There'll be nothing. There'll be nothingness. They'd be calling the funeral and be like,
absolutely.
It's trying to get this body.
Listen. We've already spent enough time talking about this. We all know the reality. Fucking Keith-Thurman would ice her, sleep her. It's not even a contest. And the fact that I think Jimmy hit the nail on the head too. I think Clarissa Shields can't be this crazy. If she is, then we're gonna have some more fun with this later on. But she's probably just saying this stuff to get. Was that?
One more thing in regards to that. Look, she might have a fixation with fighting a man because this is part of her story. And whenever she came to the TV, I think it was a documentary. She said she was abused as a child. I'm not making fun of her story. I'm not. I'm just saying I don't have to like her because of that, because of her story. I don't have to like her. I don't have to give her pity points. But she might have a fixation. Does she want to fight a man because she wants to take it out on the dude because she was abused as a child? This is my opinion.
Maybe. But I remember Ronda Rousey, real quick. Ronda Rousey, as far as I know, didn't get abused or anything, and she was talking the same smack. It almost seems like anytime a woman starts having more success than usual, all of a sudden it starts getting to their heads that they think they can beat men. I think it's because they're not meant to. Look, there's this thing that we've talked about on the show before, that predators, whenever they fight each other and one predator and the other animal submits, the predator stops. In other words, if two tigers are fighting each other and the other one submits and puts itself in a submissive posture, the other one generally stops. Chickens, roosters, when they fight to the death. They won't stop because nature didn't give them the weapons required. It's almost as if whenever nature creates an animal, a predator, for example, it also gives them the instinct that, hey, you know when to stop because they know what they're capable of. They get that instinct of stopping whenever they see a fellow animal of that species submit. But birds and shit like that, they don't have that. Other than birds, maybe birds of prey. And so maybe it's the same thing with women. They weren't raised, generally they're not raised to know when to stop, or when stopping is acceptable. Like even in street fights sometimes, unless both guys are really drunk or really, you catch one sadistic motherfucker. Usually whenever one guy drops the other guy and he sees that he's out, he stops. He won't head stomp him or anything. But women, I don't know. I've seen women fight and they go for the face, to disfigure.
Think about a woman. What is she when they fight another girl? The first thing they do is they grab each other's hair and they punch each other or scratch each other, slap each other like 100 times.
Right.
You would hardly ever see a fight where two men go at it and they punch each other 100 times. No, it's over after like 3 or 4 punches.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Sometimes it's over with one punch. Okay.
Well, with me, for example, it's always over.
We have these fast twitch muscles that women don't have naturally. They don't have that. All right.
Well, just look, they can't throw a fucking fastball. I mean, what's the fastest pitch a woman's ever pitched? I think it was 86 miles an hour. I mean, this guy's throwing it now 112 miles an hour. It's just because we can. Yeah, it's the muscles, the tendons. So. Yeah, listen, what I like is hypocrisy. She fucking shows, she gets up there for this, naked pitch on ESPN, and then all of a sudden she dogs another woman for fucking wearing a thong on a weigh-in. It's like, come on, man, Yeah.
Look,
I don't like that shit either. Everything's.
One time there was this girl that she was hanging out with us, right? And we were playing catch, right? She was like a tomboy, that type. And she played softball, and we were throwing the ball, hard ball, and she couldn't throw that fucking ball for shit. She couldn't throw it for nothing. I mean, it would. We're all throwing it like fucking 200, 300 feet away from us. All right, she's throwing that shit like maybe 75 feet away from her. You know what I'm saying? Like and she's an athlete. She knows how to play softball. She can against other girls. She's hit home runs and all that. You know, she's in good shape. If you sleep on her, she'll fuck you up with a good punch because she got size on her. But if you say, you know what, I gotta take this motherfucker serious, and you start dropping some, she's gonna cry. That's what's gonna happen.
There you go.
She's a nice girl that I'm talking about.
Yeah, this whole thing was bizarre, man, with Clarissa Shields. That she could actually say that, and I don't know. We'll see what happens, man. I doubt that they do it even for charity. I think at the last minute she's gonna say, "Oh, I gotta do another naked shoot for ESPN or whatever." We'll see what happens. All right, let's see.
Here for states would even sanction it. Let's be honest.
There's a what?
I didn't know you knew that about the birds, that the birds can't stop. Like, yeah, roosters, even if you put the cages too close together and they see each other and they're mad, they'll break their legs on the cages. They can't stop.
Yeah, there you go. See that they're nut jobs, fucking roosters. Hey, by the way, we got before the phone lines close here. There were two people waiting. Let's take those calls simultaneously. Actually, give me a minute so that the woman shuts her mouth. Otherwise, while we're taking the call, she's gonna keep saying 30 seconds, 40 seconds. Shut up. So I'll get to you guys in a minute, all right? In 55 seconds. Talking about the callers.
Minus 10.
All right.
Yeah, it's annoying, man. It's annoying. What else? Was that?
He's defending Clarissa Shields. That's why she's mad. She's super annoyed.
No. We're not gonna defend Clarissa Shields. But by the way, the people in the phone. The people in the phone, stay there. Give me 40 seconds and I'll get to you. Give me 40 seconds, all right? What else was I gonna say? Yeah, because tomorrow. Yeah, that's the thing though. Look, female boxing. They've been pushing it, and they've been pushing it, and they've been pushing it, and it's gaining some traction, but it's not gonna be what men's is. I don't think. We'll see what happens, but they're certainly trying. Tomorrow, there's the Jake Diaz. Nate Diaz versus Jake Paul. It's taking place tomorrow. Did you guys see what happened with the brawl there, by the way, 2 days ago or the day ago? They had the press conference and they're talking shit. They're doing what they got to do. And then they do the face-off. And, normally when there's a scuffle, it's between teams. They start scuffling and then they shut that down real quick, normally. This time, security started fighting amongst each other. The security guards started fighting each other. And nobody could stop them because they were these fucking huge, 6'5" guys. It was just
these
insane.
motherfuckers are like 6'5", 6'9".
Exactly.
And they're just fucking they're just like different human beings, bro.
It was the best part of the press conference. By the way, we got some people here in the phone lines here. Somebody's making noise. Hey, who's I got 3 people on the line here. 416-336 and 4110. We gotta go. But let's start with 416. What's up, 416?
Yo, BDA. Okay, so in regards to Clarissa Shields, like, there's an aspect of sometimes women who feel they want to, like, test a man's whatever, and even this boils down to even, like, God forbid, but domestic violence, right? So if a woman, like, will test a man, they know psychologically somehow that sometimes a guy will hold back a little. Because if you're striking a woman, you're not going to like fully 100% like invest in it. So in her mind, I'm thinking that she may even think that, okay, you know what? Keith Thurman's not going to hit me. He's going to hit me with like 70% of his thing because he's not going to really hit me. That type of thing. Next thing is, if she really wanted to test her like mettle with a man, she should test it with a guy who's used to fighting women and knocking them out, like Gervonta Tank Davis. So, like, he knows how to hit a woman proper. Like, no. Like, Tank knows how to hit a woman proper, right? So, like, if she really wants to test her metal, she should be like, yo, Tank, I'm gonna represent all women, and you come in it, with me, and like, let's stretch this shit out.
All right, we got another caller here. We got 336.
You disagree? Okay, you disagree.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying. Let's go to another.
Okay,
Well, hold on. We got 336 on the line as well here. 336. What do you think about what 416 just said?
I totally agree with what he said. And, the thing is, a lot of guys do hold back. One time I had to front kick this fucking girl because I was sitting down and she was losing her mind and she slapped me. So I had to front kick her and then, she backed off. I got her right in the gut. It wasn't like and she caught the end of the kick so she can get fucked up or hurt. But, all these females who they can just fuck with the man is stupid. Now, I have one thing I got to add to recognize real quick, BDA, before I let you go. He said, girls, with the ass, and some fat around their ass is kind of what, makes them a girl. Well, the thing is, for me, I'm kind of a weird case. My mom has, a huge ass, and, all the black men used to stare at her at Walmart. So what ended up happening was, I inherited her ass even though I'm skinny, and girls would always smack my ass when I was 13 or 14 years old, and I'd always do it to them too because I had a fatty. And what ended up happening was I got a 30-inch waist, so I have 32-inch waisted shit, and my butt holds up my drawers. So that's all I had to say to that.
He's a fag.
Some men got a fatty.
He's a fag.
All right, listen, I don't know what's going on here, but yeah, we got fake. All right, we got 410 on the line here as well. 410, you're on the air as well. What do you think about the last call? 410?
Well, I've been home, man. I really wanted to talk about something else. I don't know about all that, but Bud Crawford. I want to talk a little bit about Bud Crawford. First off, I picked Spence to win that fight. Something was wrong with Spence. He's better than that. I'm not surprised Bud won that fight, but Spence is a better fighter than that. But Bud Crawford not going to be fighting Canelo Alvarez. I mean, this guy has said it repeatedly. 2.5 years ago when they were talking about Canelo, Spence was saying he'd like to fight him at some point. I remember seeing an interview with Bud. They asked him. He said, nah, he's too big. He's too much weight in between. What I'd like to see happen is I'd like to see Bud Crawford one or two routes. Either fight Tim Tszyu and wait for Charlo to get beat by Canelo, and then fight Charlo for undisputed. If he can get past Tim Tszyu, then he can fight Charlo for undisputed at 154, or fight Keith-Thurman and Boots, and it's at 147. But people can forget this talk. I don't know why they're talking about Bud fighting Canelo. I don't know why. The guy just said recently he's not interested, not going to do it. So there's no reason to really talk about it in my mind. And Clarissa Shields, I wouldn't mind. I'm not for beating women, but I wouldn't mind seeing her get her ass beat by Keith Thurman, to be honest with you. So she's getting on my daggone nerves. What she needs to do is she needs to rematch. What's her name? The girl over there in England. She needs to rematch her because that was a damn good close fight at what I seen. And she turned the rematch down, a very lucrative rematch. She wants to fight here in the States for peanuts, and they don't want that. But yeah, I'm getting a little bit tired of Clarissa, and I like her, but it's just too much mouth from her.
Too much lip is what you're saying?
What's that?
Too much lip? Too much yapping is what you're saying?
Yeah, too much lip. Yeah, too much mouth out of her, man. I mean, I don't know, plus no one's going to buy that. It's an exhibition. Keith Thurman's a fool if he does that. It's going to open him up to even more ridicule. He should be grinding the stump right now to fight Bud Crawford because, frankly, the Spence fight, I don't know. I'm not sure what it sold this time. It's hard to know what the numbers really are. I've heard a couple different ones today, but it did okay. But I don't think people are going to want to see that again, and I don't think you're going to want to pay for that again. And Keith Thurman he's only got that one loss. He's been inactive. I don't think that's mostly his doing. That's the PBC. They're known for that. But he's got that one razor close loss to Manny, and he's one of the top welters of that era. And be a good scalp on Bud's name. And I believe Keith is he's not like Spence. He's pretty athletic. He's got good legs. He's got slashing power. He's not going to just, be coming in, droopy-eyed and taking shots off the side of his head like that. People, and it always happens, man, and I like Bud Crawford. But people were overrating Bud Crawford off of this performance. They just are.
Interesting.
Not trying to take credit from him.
Interesting.
Yeah,
All right,
but I mean, you got to give him his. Yeah, you got to give him his flowers and everything. I mean, that was a hell of a performance. But I've seen Earl Spence fight. People say, "Well, Avanesian did better." Well, he did. Benavidez did a lot better against Bud. Well, he did. So
who did you pick?
Now, huh?
Who did you pick to win? If you don't mind me asking.
Spence. Yeah, I thought Spence. But I picked him just.
I didn't know. I didn't
barely. Like 51-49. I really thought the fight was going to be a classic back and forth fight. I'm not at all surprised that Bud won, but I'm shocked at how Spence looked. I'm shocked at that. And weight cutting and inactivity is real in boxing. And this guy had problems, detached retina, car accidents. But he just looked like he was just totally done. By mid-fight, Bud Crawford was pushing him off with one arm, and he knocked him down with a jab in the second round. I watched Earl Spence get his eyes crossed with big shots from Kell Brook, Sean Porter, even Danny Garcia in the second half of that fight. Danny hit him with some big hooks, and this guy ain't never been down. And then he goes down from a jab in the second round. No durability. If nothing else, he's always been a durable guy. And he's busting up, and eyes were glazed over. Man, he wasn't right. To me, I don't want to see him again unless they really check him out.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, to be fair, the reason why he was getting out muscle late in the fight is because he was getting walloped in there. He was eating some serial wallops in there, and that tends to take the fight out of people right there. But your point is taken, caller. We do have to move on here because we're almost running out of time here. But thank you guys for your call, 410 and 416. Thank you guys for your calling. We'll call back next time, right? Take it easy, fellas. Have a good night.
BDA, hold up 1 sec.
What's up?
Yo, what is your thoughts in the context of like if Inoue rolls over to Paulus, which I think he will, where would he stand in the pound for pound list then?
He jumps Bud Crawford because Inoue's a 4-weight world champion and he'll be twice undisputed, and Bud's a 3-weight world champion, twice undisputed. So as far as accomplishments, you got to bump Inoue above him at that point.
Yeah,
there you go.
I agree. And where do you think he'll be if he goes up to that of 126?
Well, then he's in the stratosphere there. Then he's starting to, getting Manny Pacquiao territory. I mean, if he goes up there and he's still successful, I guess we'll have to wait and see. You know what I mean? He's another one. I mean, he's a hell of a fighter, but I'm not going to overrate him off of that last performance. I'm just not. I mean, it's hard to overrate him because him and Bud, I think, are 1 and 2, pound for pound right now. But at the same time, I've watched boxing long enough to know, I've seen guys look great in one fight and then look a little bit mediocre in the next one and maybe even lose the following. I mean, it's hard to say. I don't know too much about Inoue's next opponent, so I maybe shouldn't comment on it, but the guy looks pretty strong to me. Now, I know Inoue will be expected to win and favored to win, but I don't like to count the wins until they happen,
All right. Well,
my prediction is that he should roll over to Paulus.
Yeah, well, he should, but you never know. I say never. I mean, it's boxing, man. You never know. That's why they fight, because we want to find out if the fighters can do what they say they're going to do. Well, listen, fellas, we do have to go, man. We're running out of time here, so thank you guys for your call.
Is Recognize still there?
I don't think he's here, man.
Recognize still there?
He's gone. Carmen ain't here no more. Now, but listen, we got to move on here, man. We got to go. Call back next time, all right, man? Don't forget what you wanted to ask him next time, all right? Take it easy out there, man.
Thanks.
Have a good night, fellas. All right. Yeah, we got to go here. But, yeah, man, I mean, listen, this whole Crawford-Spence thing, it's...
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Shit, I forget to mute it every time. That fucking volume. Bust my ears up. Yeah, that's women for you. Yep. They bust your ears up with the thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Anyway, what was I going to say? Yeah, we got to go here, fellas. But who's going to purchase Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz tomorrow? Any of you guys considering doing that? Or?
Well, my options are limited. I'm in the Philippines. I'm going to watch it, in other words.
You're going to watch it? All right. Recognize Jimmy?
Yeah, no, not at all. Listen, I'm hoping. I kind of think Diaz might beat him because Diaz didn't start off as he started off, I believe, in boxing, not in jiu-jitsu. So he's got a pretty decent boxing background. He is tough, so I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not really, but then again, I'm not going to fucking lose sleep either way. I'm probably not even going to pay attention to its on. But since you asked,
yeah.
But can I just say real quick too? One thing real quick too. But to the last caller, and I enjoy his calls. He always has good points. I respect his opinion. But I'm just saying for us who thought right from the even thought with in a yes, Canelo Crawford did beat him worse, easier than I expected. But I still expected Crawford to make it kind of one way. I figured he'd lose a couple of 3 rounds in the beginning and then slowly take over and stop him in the 10th. Instead, he stopped him at the 9th. Yes, it was easier than I expected, but it still ended and happened the way I expected it, with all things being equal. So that's why I just think that we're given too much of an out for a shitty performance. And I think a dude who was just kind of a fucking hype job in a lot of ways got exposed.
Yeah. I mean, listen.
Mind, he still thinks he's a pressure fighter that got a good chin. That's what his brain is thinking. But in reality, his body can't withstand that. So he's not giving you any type of fight.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, though. It's Crawford would have, and I can make the argument that Crawford would have beaten Spence pre-accident. It's just that everything considered, the accident, the boozing, the layoff, the inactivity, that all just made it so much more easier for Terence Crawford. And that's what it is, man. Well, listen, we do have to go, but shout out to you guys.
One last comment. Can I just say one last comment, please?
Sure.
A lot of people are going to be surprised when the weigh-in for Charlo Canelo happens that there's not really going to be no real big difference between how big either or the other guy look compared to each other. They're going to be close, and you might even say, man, fucking Charlo looks bigger. Yes, he's a 54 champion, but I'm thinking he was already getting ready to move up, so he actually belongs at 60. Now, if Canelo is fighting Charlo and they look kind of like equal in size, Crawford been calling out Charlo. He's basically been calling a fighter that's almost going to be equal in size to a Canelo. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that Crawford, that I encourage him to take the fight, but I'm not Crawford. That's what
You're
I'm
right.
saying.
No, hey, listen, Rapid brought that point up as well, where Crawford says he wants Charlo, but he won't go above a certain weight. But fighting Charlo's already a big dude. And like Gonzalo said, again, it's just speculation, but I think it's an educated speculation or educated guess that you're gonna see you're gonna see Canelo and Charlo, and they're gonna be looking at about the same size, man. Charlo can put on a lot of weight in that frame of his. All right, anyway, listen, fellas, we gotta go. So shout out to you, fellas. Shout out to Gonzalo, Jimmy, recognize Bucho, who was here earlier as well. Shout out to you, fellas. Everybody that called in, everybody that donated the super chat, I'm talking about. Hold on a second. Who donated here? We had Mr. Sursayer, that's Sursayer, Jack Dakota Fan Nuff, the Funktopus. Did I forget to read his super chat? I don't think I remember. He said maybe it's a repeat of Triple G versus Brook. That said, it's a pay-per-view that I'd buy. That would be Crawford reaching for all-time greatness, in my opinion. There you go. See, some fans are thinking that it's possible. That don't put it out of your mind, fellas. This fight, Crawford, Canelo, you never know, man. These people want to make money. It's all about the money. It's a business, and it might happen. Shout out to Not. Shout out to Mr. Mirage, Uriah Smith, Niners Bar None, Jonathan Morrison, that's Action Jackson, Dark Haddo, Earl Stevens, and those are the guys that don't even super chat. Yeah, hit the like, fellas. Hit the like really helps us out. Like I said, shout out to the panelists, everybody that called in, everybody in the chat. I'm talking about, hold on a second, who's here? I get to look. Okay, well, Crazy Ass Florida was here. R. Garfunkel, Campos Vasquez, Jump Tube, Gucci Mane 007, Eparokua, Skull Kid 25, Rapax Trucking Company in the house. Shout out to Rapax 104. Who else? Your favorite boxer, Jonathan Morrison, Zachariah Logic. I know I Am Your Leader was here as well. Pete G. If I forgot anybody, Knockout Ned, Electorazo. If I forgot anybody, it's because we gotta go. King KO, Triple JJJ. We gotta go. Shout out to you, fellas. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next one, fellas. Take it easy. Thanks for watching.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you. I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.